So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. It's men's stage 1 of 7 spread across 8 days of competition. Today our riders covering 70 kilometers with a total elevation 465 meters, but we have a real variety of stages coming up. We are going to be bringing you all of the action. We have our streams going out in both Arabic and in English. And don't forget, of course, that you can catch up with all of the action after the event. Now, we have got some amazing racing coming up. I've just come in from the women's competition that started a little bit earlier on, and I've got to say it has been an absolute cracker of a race start so far in the women's. As I left it, things were really absolutely firing off. Let's see what the men have in store on stage number 1 here in Arabia. Let's take a look at the map for the course. You can see our riders come out from the start. They complete the first of the larger circuits. They then come around the full circumference of our Arabian world, making their way out and around the outside and finish just before the start point. That's a total of 465 meters. Along the way, we have our 5 segments. That are sprints. They are in the green. We have 3 mountains, all category 4 today. And all of those individual points on the course will score points for the overall competition as well as for today's stage prize winners. So we will be making our way through, trying to keep a check of all of the riders out on the course. And key today is going to be getting a good start, because we have prizes, of course, not just for each individual stage, but also across the whole of the championship, the full 7 stages. Yep, that's right. Now, you can see that we have our sprints. So the sprints come up first. They are all 300 meters, and the timing that is key to remember is that all of these times are individually timed. The 300 meters are individually timed, so it's the fastest time through there, not necessarily the first across the line, unlike the finish line at the checkered flag. One quick note: if you are watching live and you are going to be racing, that we've had a last-minute update that has come through, and that will change the Bahrain sprint. This is sprint number 3 to 21k to 21.3k. And the Bahrain climb will now move to 25.1 to 27.1 kilometers. Our first riders away will be category 4. We have 4 categories of rider, splitting the big race field up, and these are based on the riders' performances submitted in to us. So the first of our teams is Team Alpha, and great to see the riders jumping in. We've got lots of new riders in Team Alpha joining us. And remember, of the 5 riders, it's the 3 fastest riders whose times will count, and they are the key ones on the way through. Now, Saddle Squad have Ian Lloyd in here, Florian Drummond, regulars with Martinez Primera and Mayard. Or we'll be seeing if these riders, with that extra added experience of riding on the platform, are going to be able to take out the competition in category number 4. And remember, all of our categories are individual. Now, they're up against a really big squad for the Red Racers. Cristiano Canepa, David Santiago, Michael Suarez, Carvajal, as well as Hernandez. These riders really are at the forefront of the action. They contain regular winners of the Sunday Race Club, but they are up against Devoe, Carvajal, Dadson, and Elos. Watch out for Cameron Dadson, a really experienced rider racing on the Sunday Race Club, now transferring those skills across for Team Pulido. And let's see if we are going to see Pupo taking this out, so named after the very famous rider. Hopefully they won't be getting second like he did. Now, Sprocket Science are the next squad. And of these riders, David Noack and Jan Decker, 2 to definitely watch out for. Noack, a very experienced rider. We're seeing how well they can communicate the skills, the riders who are regularly on here, like Pleasure Noack, across the riders who are maybe a little bit newer into the competition. So our riders in category 4 are lined up on that start line. Now, let's explain a little bit how this will work. We have each of our categories sent away separately. Category 4 will start first, followed by categories 3, then 2, and then 1. And as you can see, there are some big time gaps between. This will mean that category 4 will be well down the road before category 3 start. The same between 3 and 2, 2 and 1. And that means that these riders will get a lot of racing as a category before they are joined in. Now, you can see in with each of these categories that we have different jerseys in there as well. And you can see that we're just focusing in on Zanaska in category number 3. Really interesting rider, because Adrian Zanaska could well be one of those riders to figure in our Masters category, because our riders aren't just competing for the overall. There are subcategories as well, so you have our general riders. But if you are lucky enough to be under 23, you have a separate category. If you are unlucky like me and over 50, or lucky maybe to have made it this far in my case, then you will be one of our Masters riders, and you'll be competing in that Masters categorization, and that is basically 50 and above. All of our riders are eligible for all of the rest of the prizes other than the age categories. That is our sprints, our mountains on the way through. Going to be really interesting to see who will be taking it out when we get in towards the finish. We're just in with Bowman at the moment, and hopefully Bo's going to get a good start from the line. Now, this is when the riders are going to be really keyed up. They know that they are into the last 2.5 minutes, and this is really key now, because they need to have done a good warm-up. Esports racing, traditionally, straight from the gun. Very, very quick start. Now, because this is a 7-stage, 8-day race with one rest day after day 4, with multiple options of racing in terms of the sprints, the climbs, as well as the overall and the stage wins, this is going to be really, really interesting to see how the riders deal with the competition, how they deal with the start, and how fast they go off from that race start. Our category 4 now into 2 minutes to go, so gels need to be on board, bottles need to be stashed wherever they can grab them nice and quick. They needed to be all ready to focus on getting the wind up right. Once that gun goes, once the flag is dropped, that is when our riders are away. They will head out from the pens. They'll be taking 2 right-hand turns, or very sharp right-hand turn, and that'll take them onto the course proper. The clocks will be ticking. We'll bring you an explanation of what all the data means on your screens once our riders are up and racing. But as you can see, they're all ready to go. A quick reminder, you can watch us not just on the YouTube feed, but also on the Twitch TV feed. That's Twitch TV/MyWhoosh Live. And you can pick up all of the results on the MyWhoosh.com website. All of the options on your screens as well for social media. So into the last minute now. We're into the final 3/4 of a minute countdown. As the clock continues to tick, the riders will be starting to think about winding pace up. How hard do they need to go? We can see lots of variation between these riders. With 30 seconds to go, they all need to be ramping it up. You don't want to kick from the moment of go. If you miss that start, you're going to be in trouble. So here we are on the MyWhoosh Championships, our very first race start in the men's competition on stage 1. It's our category 4 riders. They're in to the final 10 seconds. This is going to be key. Nobody wants to lose the race on the first few meters here. Who's going to lead this out from the gun? Here we go. We're underway on the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023, being led out by our category 4 riders. The sharp right-hand turn being led down here, and you can see that Butheaba is going to be leading us out, but this is a fast charging pack, 45 kilometers an hour coming underneath Theab's wheels as he travels down here with 1 or 2 riders struggling to stay on board at this stage. But you can see experienced heads like Cristiano Kennup making his way up towards that front group. Nobody wants to lose a wheel at this stage. Lose at this stage, it's going to be very difficult to get back. But it may be that riders are focusing on something else further out on the course, like the sprints or the mountains. and they figure that they've got a good enough kick to get themselves in and through. So the riders pushing on at the moment. Let's take you through the screens and the segments. The first segment will come at 3.7 kilometers in. That is going to be a sprint segment. That is the UAQ sprint. 300 meters long, from 3.7 to 4 kilometers. The riders on the way in have a pretty technical running. We've got a dive down into this dip and a climb up out the other side before we run into the sprint. So riders will need to stay in contention to be in with a chance of using the draft of the riders. So let's take you through the screens and let's see what our riders are up to. Top left-hand side of your screen, first of all. You can see the largest numbers there. They are the watts that are being generated by our rider. In this case, it is Hashem. And the numbers flick from green to black. Green means you're in the draft, that you're getting the advantage of sitting behind another rider. You're not having to produce as many watts to go forwards. In black, it means that you are on the front and you are having to do all of that work. You're not able to get any benefit from drafting. Directly below that are the watts per kilo. So that is the power to weight of the riders. Santiago at the moment kicking at nearly 6 watts per kilo, putting the pressure on here as we go into the first of our rises. You can see the numbers going up as he goes on, trying to string this group out. Now you can see the revs, that's the pedal revs or the cadence. That's by the chain set. That's currently sitting at 74 for Santiago, 73. You can see it fluctuating as he modulates his pace to sit with the riders. His heart rate, well, that's going to be slightly more consistent. That shouldn't yo-yo quite as much, and that's 165 beats per minute. Speed currently around the 30 kilometers mark per hour, with 2 minutes 45 on the clock, and just under 2 kilometers traveled as we make our way up this climb. So that's top left-hand side of your screen. Top right-hand side of your screen, this is lots of course detail for you. So you can see the sat-nav-esque view. That is the view of the riders that are traveling forward. You can see we're on a long sweeping left-hand bend here. Each of the riders represented by a circular disc. The largest disc that you see is the rider that we are following in that pack. Currently, that is Al-Harami, and you can see we are following that in and through. So the riders are making their way down the course. And of course, as they head down this course, they are fighting for points in the competition as well as the overall, which will produce some serious prize money. So let's take a look at the prize money. The ultimate prize pool here of $1 million split between the men and the women. We have our overall classification prize money. So you can see for the individuals in category 4, the win is $2,500, running down to 10th place, $250. Right-hand side then, team classification, $10,500 for first. You can see our sprint winner, our youth winner, our King of the Mountain, and our Masters winners, all receiving $1,250 if they take the overall prize. However, there's also daily prize money up for grabs as well. The stage winner taking $250, the sprint winner and the mountains winner, each stage taking $150, and riders can win multiple prizes. So you can win the individual classification, figure in the team result, maybe be a Masters over 50 rider or an under 23 rider, take the overall in the mountains, take away a stage win or 3, add in some mountains, and you can see that these riders have a lot to fight for on the way through these stages. But to be eligible, you have to be in the race, and our riders have to complete each stage to move on to the next stage. At the moment, the riders, as you can see on the top right-hand side of your screen, in category 4, having covered 3 of the 70k. That's the yellow bar that moves across the screen. You can see that we have a course profile with the green arrow pointing to where the riders are. They're on the climb. You can see that they're on that rise of 3.5%. And that is the number that is in the yellow box. It's grey for the low gradients. It is in the yellow and then into the red as the gradient increases. Top left-hand side of that box, you can also see 28 meters of ascent covered so far. Down the right-hand side, you can see we're following Martinez. He's the rider that's highlighted in the center. Now Al-Harami. In fact, he's off the front here. Brilliant timing, because on the right-hand side, Al-Harami is ahead of the rider who's sprinting. You could just see this is going to be Cal, who's making his way past Al-Harami into the lead. So Juan Carvajal, the rider who's leading out, he's highlighted in purple. Now, you will see that those bars will highlight in yellow and red. That is as the power increases, as they put more power down. So you see Martinez just kicking into the yellow, then into the red. Al Harami doing the same. This is as they stamp on those pedals, as they put that extra power through. And that is absolutely key, because at 3.7, we are into our sprint. And if you watch the screens now, the riders are pushing on. You can see the group stretching here. And you can see that we're starting to see more and more red. Now, this is about the fastest time. It may well be a rider who's gone from the back to the front of the group. Cristiano Kenneth looked to be pretty much the first rider in and across the line. Will he have the fastest time, though? Because that is absolutely critical when it comes to taking away the points. Because with those points, they are key. Now, let's take a look. Here we go. Pleasure taking the fastest time, going through faster than Kedup, put down less watts per kilo, but able to produce a faster pace. Remember that draft is key. Goes through, takes 5 points, Kedup with 4 points, Elos with 3, Dromard with 2, and Quadrarelli with 1. There's a total of 25 maximum points you can score if you were to win all of the sprint segments on the way through. The UAQ sprint, the first of those on the way in and through. The second one coming through will be our Liwa Desert Sprint, followed by the Bahrain Sprint. We go back around through the UAQ Sprint once again. We go back through the Desert Sprint to finish off all 300 meters, but lots of different shapes and profiles. So let's see how those riders progress on the way through. Currently, it is Pleasure who has got the jersey of our sprint leader, and you can just see we're focused on the rider in the green with the gold band on his arm. That is your winner of the ADQ sprint. That time 21.22 of a second quicker than Cristiano Kenneth, who's currently in second place in the competition overall. Even I can do the maths at this stage with one sprint complete. Fortunately, we have an amazing team behind the scenes who are going to be bringing us all of the results on the way through. So let's keep an eye on the riders as they go. We'll try and keep you up to date with all the results. Can't guarantee we're going to give you every result of everything on the way through. And to see that, you need to go on to www.mywhoosh.com, where you can pick up all of the race results. They have 3 forms. The first form is for the live action. So basically the race is live and the result is live, so it could change at any point as riders progress through the course. So for example, somebody might put in a fantastic sprint well behind the leading group that go through and change that result and put the fastest time down. So it's live. We then, as the race finishes, go to unofficial, and this is pre-verification. Then we go to the verified result, and the verified result will be the one that counts. So taking a look at our Category 4 riders leading out from Category 3 at the moment. And you can see that they still have plenty of time on that clock before they start off. They're watching Category 4 unfold and start to move away from that start line. So at the moment, Category 4 having covered nearly 6 kilometers of racing. So Category 4 well underway. Still seeing plenty of numbers, and a regroup after that sprint. Nobody choosing that moment to push on. So Category 3 sat on the left-hand side of your screen, just in with Adriano Zanaska, one of our older competitors. I won't tell you Adriano's age. We do have the details in front of us. Let's just say it's even older than I am, and that takes some doing. So Adriano going to be in battling. Great to see him down on the start line as they await their race start. Meanwhile, we're in with Buama as he is currently sitting in the towards the back of that pack at the moment. You can just see one solid group in there. It looks like that's about 18, maybe 19 riders in there in total. And just fracturing as they come in down this descent here. We're at 6.7k. The next key marker comes up at 11.6 in terms of competition scoring opportunities, and that is on the climb. The first of our climbs, the Lima Desert Hills climb, is a 2-kilometer climb, so 2,000 meters in distance, and that is going to be really interesting to see how they ascend the 70 meters of vertical height gain on the way through. It's not the biggest climb that we will face over the course of the championships. We've got racing up everything up to and including over 15-kilometer climbs on some of our epic mountain stages, and going to be great to see those. Don't forget, you can get hold of all of the rules tech guide for the racing on www.mywhoosh.com, and of course we have the social media feeds up and running. So for MyWhoosh, it is MyWhoosh on Facebook and on Instagram, my_whoosh on Twitter. If you are going to post, we really love to see what you're up to, whether that's your pain cave, your preparation, what you look like before and after, how you've got on in the racing, what your training's been, what your practice has been to get this right. What's your support team around you? Are you sat solo in your pain cave, or have you got the master, the sports therapist, the director, sportive there? Are you communicating on the radio? So make sure you tag in at MyWhoosh. Make sure you tag in at Matt Fix the Pain, that's me. And I will be joined later on when she's finished with the women's race by Emma Martin, who should make it in for the finale of the men's every day. So should be joined by Emma as we go through the race today. So our riders in category 4 now approaching the 8-kilometer marker. This group pretty much all together, no real distance being opened up behind on the rest of the riders, pretty much all of the group together, which is what we kind of would expect at this stage. I wouldn't expect to see too many people being distance. Just taking a look through. So we'll see whether all 26 riders who went through the first segment are going to be there at the end of the second one. But this, you're leading the group now on to this steep little kicker. Now, this is not a climb that has a category. This is just one of the rises in the road. So basically, we go over this steep kicker, coming up the bridge where Decker is just on the front here, just holding around 4 watts per kilo. We come off the top, we level out, and you can see that on the top right hand side of your screen before dropping down. So 8 kilometers covered for the category 4. Category 3 now on 6 minutes to their race start. So Decker right hand side, category 4 on the bottom of your screen. Left hand side, that's the NASCAR sat waiting for his start in category 3. Category 2, watch you Mr. G in the green there, your category 2 riders. Category 1, we're in with Zach Nair. That was the fact that he's got his full proper posh name, Zachary Nair. It's Zach to his friends. Hopefully we count as those here on MyWhoosh. And you can see the category 1 in yellow, those riders steadily joining. A lot of the riders will be making sure they complete a real full warm-up. And category 1, of course, plenty of time left till they reach their race start. So 4 categories. Category 1 in yellow, category 2 in green, category 3 in blue, and category 4 in red. So let's have a look in a little bit more detail as we reach 5 minutes to go at our category 3 race field. Slightly bigger race field this time, and that is the next step up the ladder. The Go Hard team, the first of our teams to feature. Now, of these riders, Demagnuan has been regularly on the attack. Pablo Junior Demagnuan, a rider definitely to watch out in this team of 5. 3 of the team will count, and it's the 3 fastest for the team competition, but all of them are able to score. We mentioned Adriano Zanaska in the surprise team here. We've got Valencia, Kanth, Thornton, and Marin in here, all of which could be relied on to push. But Camel Kanth could be very interested to see how he figures in the overall competition. Now, strong team from Colombia, massive Colombian representation in the championships. Vuelta Colombia in here, Carajal, Orego, Castro, Pulgarin, and Munoz in here. The riders Orego and Pulgarin, very experienced on the MyWhoosh platform. They're up against the battlers now. Brilliant teams, really interesting to see how they're going. We've got Mark Daz and Carl Tysalius. We've got Heath Eckersley. We've got Jack Stables and Michael Phillips. You can change it to Keith if you want, if you keep my teeth in. Mark Dazin always attacking. Carl Tysalius, regular winner of the Sunday Race Club Racing. Up against Quick Spec team with Mamba, Ephraim Mamba, another of our regulars, UK full in there, Lagos and Quadrelli in the mix. So some newer riders into the platform in there. Now they're going to be up against the MyWhoosh Beast. We've got Sebastian Wolf in here, experienced rider and coach. Can he guide the team? He's got Ishmael van der Velden in there. Van der Velden, very quick rider as well. Remember, of course, as we move from category 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, we are going to be moving up in terms of the power and the performances these riders should be capable of putting down, and that means that each of the riders is surrounded in their race field by riders of a similar ability. So it's going to make for great racing, not just for our elites at the category 1, but across all of those race categories. So category 3 lined up, ready to go. A quick reminder, we have 70 kilometers, exactly the same course with the same 465 meters of climbing. They are going to be chasing category 4, but there are no prizes for beating category 4. Not at all. Each of the prizes and the prize money and the bragging rights are all about being in your category. And the only time that that will have any effect of what our riders are doing is going to be when our riders come in and through. Now, you can see we've got our Masters riders in here. Adriana Zanaska in the green jersey. You can also see we've got white jerseys in as well. So we do have riders in the Masters competition. We're going to see who's going to be taking out the win in that Masters competition. We have the youth competition as well. And those riders in the under 23 category, or the Espoir, as it is quite universally known. So you can see the work these riders would have to do to catch up. 18 minutes on the clock already for the riders in category 4. 20 minutes the gap between category 4 and category 3, and substantial distance on the road. Category 4 are going to be, I suspect, around about what will be the 19.5K when this race field gets set loose. Riders are lined up ready to go. So it's going to be 19.5 20K between category 4 and category 3 on the road. 20 minutes down on the clock, but the race is all about what you're going to do against the competition that is around you. Not long for these riders to find out. We are ticking our way into a race start. 50 seconds on the clock approximately at the moment. This is the key moment. This is where the riders really know that they've got to start winding it up. The nerves will well and truly be kicking in as we go in towards the very start of this race. No more time for rehearsals, no more time for practicing. This is when it counts. You've got to be able to take this out. You need to be in with this group. All our riders will know that 30 seconds has gone by. So we're now into the final few seconds. These riders need to be winding up, ready to go. Tysalius tucked in here. That's the rider we're watching. You can see 65 revs per minute. It's currently at 180 watts. He's going to start ramping that up. He's getting his timing right. Here we go. So category number 3. About to launch here on the MyWhoosh Championships. Carl Tysalius kicks out from the straight here. He's going to be motoring his way through with this pack as we hit 40 kph very quickly. And you can see one or two riders just having to fight to get into the back of the pack, but it looks like one big field. Heading out from the race start, And you can see we're riding in with Quadrella, who has got the race lead. Taking a look back from Quadrella, UK Full quickly up and in pursuit. You can see the bars going into orange and into red as they kick on here. So a fast start, still holding 40 kilometers an hour. If you're in imperial measurements rather than metric, 40k is 25 miles an hour. About 32 will get you in at 20 miles an hour. And at 70k, that's nearly 40 miles an hour. 80k is 50 miles an hour. For the big descents that will come later when we head down the mountains, you might need a conversion. So here we go. The technical start. Our riders now into this descent. Remember, the first of the segments coming. It's a sprint segment at 3.7k, but you can see the gap between these riders out on the road at the moment. 20 minutes done, and just keeping a check on Suarez at the moment. The distance has really opened up here, and good to get confirmation that that gap as they came out was sitting up at what is going to be about 11.5 kilometers between the two groups. Now, just seeing Carl push on here. This is the mountain competition the riders are on. So the mountain segment comes in from 11.7 to 13.7. You can see our riders just over halfway up. It means they're over the first leg onto the flat section, but it will kick again. You can see with the gradient at the moment is 0%, so pancake flat. But in front, the riders, in front of them, the ridge is rising. Now, Carvajal holding the front with Suarez and Kenneth Quadrelli in there. Dadson right up in the mix. DeVoe in there. Elos as well. All up and near the front of this group. Now the push comes, and it's Kenneth who's winding it up. Nearly 10 watts per kilo on that kick. He's looking to distance the riders. They came in together, and Kenneth could be soloing here to the first of the mountain points. Is this a statement of intent from Cristiano Kenneth here? It is looking very good here. He's pushing now. He has got to get to 13.7. He's got just 300 meters. He's got a 10-second gap. Now, what he's got to do is not expend too much energy on the way up here. Doesn't matter how much faster he is than everybody else, but he needs to be faster. And what he can't bank on is nobody coming from the back charging through the group. Carvajal is the nearest rider to him. Kenneth is leading this through. And it could well be that this is where we are going to see the very first points awarded to somebody who went clear on the front. Pleasure is chasing behind here, but this is a fractured chase, and I think Cristiano Kenneth should have done enough to take this under the banner. He goes. Now come the rest of the riders. Remember, the results are live as we come to you. This is no pre-recording, believe me. This is as live as it comes, and here they come on to the wheels of Kenneth. Interesting to see that the riders are pushing now. Kenneth currently holding the polka dot skin suit, polka dot jersey, you can see there. He's got the current fastest time, a 4:31, 4 seconds faster than Elos, then Pleasure, and then it's Carvajal and Quadrelli. So they score 5, 4, 3, and 2 points for the top four. The last rider, Quadrelli, scoring 1 point for being in 5th place. Now, here you go. Confirmation of that. Kenneth, Elos, Pleasure, Carvajal, Quadrelli, then Noack, Ospina, Suarez, Dadson, and Marcos Carvajal, then coming through just behind, sitting in 10th place. It looks like DeVoe and Martinez, not all that far behind. Still riders coming through. You can see the spinning yellow icon in the center. That is basically indicating that riders still on the way through the line, but not setting a faster time at the moment. Right. Away from Category 4, who completed the mountain for the first time. The first of the mountains, Category 4, getting 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points. Remember, those points are higher when we go on to Category 1, where the points are almost doubled. And then it is trebled as you go in towards the horse Category 4, the win. So making its way up. Now, remember that the riders in each category are fighting individually for each of those prizes, each of the competitions in each of the categories. That is in each category. we have a separate prize pool, and that means that Category 3 have a higher prize fund than Category 4 because they're the next step up the ladder. $5,000 for first prize in the overall prize money for the individual classification. In the teams competition, the prize money moves up to $21,000 for first, down to $5,000 for fifth. Our individual sprint winner overall, our youth winner, under 23 winner overall, the King of the Mountains winner, and the Masters over 50 winner, all taking away $2,500. And then our individual stage wins, again, a ramp up in prizes. $500 for the win, $250 for the sprint win, and $250 for the King of the Mountains win. So a bigger prize fund, raising up as we go from 4 to 3. That will continue from 3 to 2 and 2 to 1, with Category 1 having the highest prize fund. So Category 3 looks like the action already is starting to kick off here as we go through the 3.8k marker. We are right in the middle of the sprint segment, so you can see they mean business. They want that prize money. So coming in through the sprint segment, the UAQ sprint, the very first of the sprints at the moment. Well, looks to me like those riders going through, and I'm just keeping an eye on our live result screens here in the studios. And for our Category 3 riders going through, I'm still seeing riders coming through with faster times. So it shows from the very first rider through, the first overline was by no means the fastest rider on the course. That's come from somebody a little bit further back using draft on the way through. So really interesting to see. You can just see this now regrouping. Let's have a closer look at the numbers. Now they're up on our screen. Now Luca Bala came from the back of the group. You can see the watts per kilo, 11 watts per kilo. 12.8 coming from Arago in second place, then Quadrelli with 10.5, then Nogueira coming in with 10.2, then it's Carvajal with 9.6. But Bala came flying on through that sprint time. So really interesting to see how fast they came through. And if you compare those numbers through, a big difference coming through. So just the latest results in the Desert Hills coming in as well. Now we've got Kenneth from Elos, from Pleasure, from Carvajal on the mountain that we saw earlier on. And that was earlier on. The sprint stoke showing very clearly that this is live as we come to you as the racing progresses. And in the mountains competition, really interesting mix of teams in there in our Category 4. Now back to Category 3, we're in with Luca Bala. Bala is the fastest time through the sprints, now moving across to Hoyos. We are sat with Quadrelli here. Now, Quadrelli came through that sprint in third position, carried a lot of momentum through there, and that has spat him out the front of the group. The rest of the group not looking to chase him down. We've got 7.7k between the first sprint and the start of the first mountain segment. However, it is really bumpy in between, and watch out for the train in between. It could catch our riders in Category 3 out. So at the moment, we've got 9 minutes on the clock for Category 3, 29 minutes for Category number 4. And at the moment, the Category 3 bunch not closing down on Category 3 leader. Quadrelli still sitting at 5-6 seconds, and this group must surely know they can pull him back. None of the riders putting in monstrous watts at this stage. You can see a big difference with the screen shows the riders in the bunch versus the solo rider. He's pulling clear slightly, but putting down more power. So you can see 4 categories. We've got Category 1, 2, 3, and 4 in yellow, green, blue, and red, respectively. 2 categories underway, half of our race field on the virtual roads of MyWhoosh. Don't forget, if you're liking what you see, if you're watching thinking, yep, I want to have a go, you can jump on. Make sure you go onto MyWhoosh.com and you can download the MyWhoosh app. The riding available on iOS, on Windows, and on Android. You can mirror the game up from iOS onto a big TV screen. We've got people with massive pain caves, but jump on, have a go. Regular competition every single week on the Sunday Race Club with points and money going across all 4 categories in the men's and women's races. Live coverage with myself, Matt Payne, and with Emma Martin of all of the races, as much as we can cover, because it's fast and furious. And we've only got 2 categories on the road in the men's race at the moment. Still lots more to come, but you can see Quadrelli opening up to 9 seconds now, and Hugh Kafel deciding he needs to go after Quadrelli here. So Quadrelli riding for the quick spec team, being chased here by Kafel, who is actually his teammate here. Is he looking to kick across? Interesting tactics, it has to be said. Spec must know that he cannot make it. The quick spec team must know that they can't make this solo to the finish. But interesting move there by Kafel to try and close across and get across. If it was a move to get across, it's definitely been closed down and shut down there on the left of your screen, right hand side of your screen. Category 4 riders now approaching 18 kilometers traveled, and that means that they are just out. Remember that the sprint and climb, the 3rd sprint and the 2nd climb, are at 21 to 21.3 for sprint number 3. For climb number 2, it's at 25.1 and 27.1. So those are the distances to the key points for the riders in category number 4. But category number 3, well, they are currently at 7.2 kilometers, and their next key point in terms of point scoring is at the climb that comes in at 11.6k. So you can see the next group of riders to go will be the riders in category 2. They're the riders in green, top right hand side of your screen. More and more riders joining as we go closer and closer to a race start time. Categories 2 and 1 all lined up and waiting. Still more people to join though, and jump in on the championships for 2023. So here we go, right hand side of your screen, you can just see category number 4, Devote and Quadrelli already are pushing on here. They've distanced Bo Mansour. Mansour is a bit behind. He's the last rider on the road in category 4 that we can see ahead of category 3. Still got a 12, nearly 13-minute lead between Bo and Filippo, the 2 riders nearest to each other across those categories. But a big ask to move up Ian Lloyd just further up the road. But remember, of course, this is a long stage race, and there's still plenty of climbing, plenty of different stages to come. So, right-hand side of your screen, Cristiano Kennup, the rider that's featured, and you can see at the moment Kennup holding that sprint jersey. Our next sprint for category 4. And that is going to come in at 42.5k. So our first 2 categories are up and away. Let me just take a little break as the riders make their way up here. We're just going to mute our mics because I've just been joined in the studio by Emma Martin, hopefully fresh from the women's race. So Emma just diving into the studios from the women's race. We'll catch up with her, get some reports from what's been happening out on there. And don't forget, of course, you can watch that back. And we'll be bringing Emma in to the commentary in a short while. She's going to be playing catch up on the men's race to this point as well. Lots of multitasking going on. Now, we are with the leaders on the way through here. Now, this section really is a key. We're at 20.3 kilometers, and at 20.3k we are quite literally in the middle of the rolling terrain that takes us in and through towards the 3rd sprint and the second climb. Now, this terrain basically has an overall descent. They're steadily going to drop down. Quadrelli and DeVoe taking the lead, 6 seconds clear of this chasing group behind. And the Satan chasing group, they are just about chasing. It's not a concerted chase. It's not one long line of riders, but it is starting to stretch a little bit here. They're not going to be concerned by 5 or 6 seconds at this stage. Remember, we are just over 20 kilometers covered of the 70K. But what they won't want to do is let them go too far. Now, next race start will be our Category 2 race field. They're now a sub 5 minutes. In fact, heading for 4 minutes to their race start. Let's have a run through the teams for you. In category number 2, Team Tapas. Now we have Jonas Bjarhed, definitely one to watch in this category, along with Olivier Simmons, Stefan Proust. We've got Casterman and Che Howeiler in here. Proust, Simmons, Bjarhed, regular riders in the category 1 on a Sunday race club. And with the mix of riders in the championship sitting now in category 2. The cyclists are going to be in. We got Diduch, Spratt, Winfield, Smithson, and Giuliano. Nicholas Spratt, one of our regular long-time riders in here. Diduch joining him. Winfield, Smithson, and Giuliano making up that team. Going to be very interesting to see how they get on against one of our regular teams, the Hubbards team, with Kirchner, Krasnich, G, Bogren, and Tortoretto. Now, Krasnich always one to watch, a very strong rider, but he's surrounded by a really strong team as well. Going to be really interesting to see who they set as their leader if one develops through the course of the racing, but the Hubbards team, very experienced. Café de Colombia, another of our fantastic South American contingent, joining us with Christian Maglio. Maglio, a regular with Caligula, Cavajal. We've got Reyes and Moreno in here, and this could be one of the teams to challenge for that overall team. They've got strong riders, and they can work well as a team. We've seen that before. The riders Maglio and Caligula, very experienced. Akatsuki, the next of our teams in category 2. Duque, along with Castano and Largo in the mix as experienced rider. We've got McCarroll and Osorno joining as well. Be very interested to see whether Duque can live up to the promise. He's been a rider that's been tipping for big things for a long time. Will it happen today? Now, Hexagon 2. Going to be interesting to see how they get on. A new team and new riders, very relative to everybody else being a newer team. And we'll keep an eye on Hexagon 2, the second of the Hexagon teams that are taking part in the competition. We've got the KOMS Power. Now, is this a statement that they're going to be looking for the King of the Mountains points? Quintero, Kusumana, Avedo, East, and Parisi. This is a squad to watch. Cusimano regularly up at the top of the tree, as is Parisi, a regular attacker. As are Steel Wheels, they've got some great riders in here, Primero and Cardenas, but you've got riders like Dutton in here, and Ruiz and Rodriguez. I think the Steel Wheels, well, they're not going to be weighed down by the Steel. Again, another very, very competitive team. And that should leave us with one or two teams left. Let's see who is going to be left after the Steel Wheels team. I think it's going to be the Elite Leftovers are our final team. We'll see if they're going to be the team who are going to finish our team standing off. So joining me back in the studio whilst we wait to go back into the race live, I've got Emma Martin joining me in the studio here. Emma, we're sat in the studio ready for the continuation of stage 1 here today. And you've just been putting words to the action for the end of stage 1 for the women. Now, when I left you, we covered the second climb with category 1 women. So the first climb with category 1 women on the stage. It was absolutely front. It was really, really busy. And there was lots of action going down as well. Without giving any spoilers away, has it lived up to expectation?
Oh, it was an absolutely fantastic first stage of the women's race. Absolutely a key must watch. 4 race finishes. Very different, really great, and what a course for the descent.
So the great action across all the categories, and I'm sure that's inspired by the prize money. Now, the prize money that we see on the screen at the moment, this is for our category 1, and it doesn't say men or women because it's equal prize money across men's and women's races. Do you think that was a motivator in the racing by the category 1 women? We've $10,000
Oh, I'm trying to think what
overall.
I can say without giving any spoilers away now for those who haven't watched the women's race, because they really need to watch it. But my answer to that is yes. And the fact that we've got the sprint category, the fact that we've got the mountain state category as well as the overall, and it started to unravel as in the latter stages of the course as to who you could start seeing might be thinking about which.
And was that true across categories? Because,
yes.
again, we've got the scaling. We go from category 1 to category 2, 3, 4, and 5. So a lot of time for these riders to think about what they're doing out on that course, by the sounds of it, because it's a long race. I mean, we've 50k for the women, we've 70k for the men. Categories 4 and 3 are clear. So let's give a quick roundup of where the action has been at the moment for our riders. Now, our category 2 riders are lined up on the race start here. We had 3 and 4 away. Now, they were absolutely flying, and we've seen speculative attacks at the moment. What we haven't seen is anybody break clear on this course, and I think that's to do with the strength of the teams in action. It's to be very, very interesting to see what happens as this race progresses and as these riders continue. And I think category 2, we talk about this on the Sunday Race Club, where week in, week out, we are bringing the action. Category 2 is a really competitive race field all of the time, and that's reflected in our race fields here today.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the strength and depth, not just in category 2, Matt, but in all the categories, you know, but you are right. Category 2 is so competitive. There is a very small range across the riders. And I think that's evident in both the men's and the women's, actually, because it's such a competitive race field. And we see some really strong riders, and we see different riders riding different abilities in different areas. So there are strong sprinters, there are strong climbers, there are people who are all-rounders, and there are a lot of them in category 2.
Indeed there are, and it's a big race. It's the biggest race field, isn't it, of the men's categories?
Yeah, it is indeed. So 46 riders on the start sheets of category 2, 9 teams. So it is indeed, you know, 323 riders in there, Matt, 2 Masters riders in there as well. So a really good field.
It is indeed. So the riders at the moment lined up. We've got category 2 and 1. Now, we've got quite a while before they go. What would you be doing right now?
Well, you know, it's a case of getting your warm-up done, getting your hydration right. You know, the thing is, we've got riders riding all over the world and in all different time zones as well. So for some of these riders, it's first thing in the morning. Some of the riders, it's early first thing in the morning. So getting the fueling right around the time of day, getting the fueling right around the race distance and the type of race you're expecting to get today. You know, the men have got 70k. 465 meters of elevation, so it's not a very steep section of climbing today. The 3 climbs that there are category 4 climbs. They're all 2 kilometers in length, so there is not a huge amount of climbing today in today's course. So it's very, very much a flat course that could suit bunch racing. So getting all those things into the mix and getting your fueling right, your warm-up right, etc., is all absolutely adamant, as well as keeping your head straight.
I think that keeping your head straight is really, really key. Now, we've seen the riders start on the start line. Now, I have sadly had the experience of being out on racing, and things don't go to plan. You make a plan, you have a time scale, you have a race start that you've got planned, you know exactly what you're going to do, and then it doesn't go to plan. The ability to read you to get re-rolling is really, really key, isn't it? It's really, really important. And for me, it always helped to focus on what my goal was, whether that was winning, being in the mix, or just not getting an absolute kicking. And I guess having a good prize fund is going to be key. I mean, our category 2 riders who are lined up there, the next riders due to go, they've got some serious prize money at stake here, $7,500 for first place. That's a substantial sum.
Well, it is, particularly when you notice that they'll be part and parcel of a team. You know, we do have a couple of individual riders in category 2, but most of our riders, around 95% of them, are in a team, and that team classification map will take away first prize of $31,500. So absolutely a fantastic prize pool for both the men and the women on the MyWhoosh Championships. And of course, not only do we have those overall classifications, we've also got daily prize money as well. And in category 2, that's $750 for the stage winner. And then we've got a sprint and a King of the Mountains stage winners as well, with $375 a piece for those in the men.
So big money, big incentive, big reason to keep your eyes on the prize and to get that focus. For me, obviously, you know, being of exceedingly limited abilities, it was very much about being able to hang in. And I always sort of wanted to make sure that I could keep down. And one of the ways I did that is I focused on the route. So I looked at where we were going. That suited me. You might be on stats, I guess, but knowing where that you're going and knowing where you are on the course, what's in front of me, always helped me on the way through. So I'd be visualizing in my head where I am on the way round on the circuit, what I've got coming up, what there's going to be in front, where I was expecting to push hard. And we see that here because although we have our climbs, and there are 3 key climbs here in terms of points, for me, they're not necessarily the worst places. So if you look at the course profile at the moment, after the second climb, you see, in fact, it kicks on over the top, but then it's a very sharp edge before we descend down. That, for me, would actually be a really critical point because you'd want to be right in that leading group going over the summit of that very sharp point so that you didn't get distance, because it's a very steep descent on the other side.
Yeah, and I think there is some very key parts to this course, and they are not necessarily the obvious places. You know, you highlighted those 3 category 4 climbs and your focus goes to them, but actually the other climbs that are not those category 4 climbs are actually part and parcel of the key parts of this race. They are short, they are sharp, they are steep, and they will catch you unawares, and keeping your concentration as a rider is absolutely crucial over this 70 kilometres.
Indeed, it is keeping that focus. Now, our riders will need to be focused on to the game. So we are going to take a short break. We'll be back with the action very shortly. Please stay tuned to the live feeds. Emma, Martin and myself, Matt Payne, will be back. And don't forget, whilst you're on, get that YouTube channel and the Twitch stream followed and subscribe for when we go live. We'll catch up with you shortly. Bye for now. Championships of 2023, our men's competition is going to be kicking off shortly. My name is Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the action around the course, and I'm in the studio here with Emma Martin, who is busy studying our route around the circuit and making her way in to check that we are going to cover all this distance. It's a big climb. For me, it's a short climb for our riders because it's 465 meters and 70 kilometers. 5 sprint segments along the way, which are individually timed. So the fastest time is the time that counts rather than the first over the line, with 3 climbs to contribute towards our King of the Mountains Championships. Our first riders to go will be our Category 1 riders. The first team, the Belgian Waffles team. Emma, great team.
Oh, absolutely amazing. So Martins has been on superb form, so is Vjasin and Kaminski. And you can never count out Van Elst or Van den Eckhart. They all deserve their names read out today. They are star riders.
The Sticky Bone Club, one of my favourite team names, includes birthday boy Ross Fawcett. Happy birthday, Ross. Let's hope that the old adage that you ride stronger on your birthday than any other day of the year is true.
Well, it's the motivation of cake.
It could well be. The Italian Gelato squad are now, this is a real who's who. Zach Nair, Lucas Nasca, Vidal Mayer, Johan Noren, and Pidna Demon. I think this could well be their race because they are very experienced riders competing at multitude of disciplines as well. So I think they're going to be in with a good chance. Will the Beast mode, powered by mode team, be the team to take it. Some great names in there, and the one and only Phil Graves, bit of a MyWhoosh legend.
Yeah, now you can always count on him to attack and push on. But this team competition, Matt, in this Category 1 race is absolutely heaving with quality and class riders.
Indeed, all the way through, including Juan Hoyos, who really has excelled in the Category 1 on Sunday. Race Club Hexagon 1, the second of our teams, or the first of our teams from Hexagon. We'll have another one along with the UAE clan team. They have been the team to beat, and what a team. Michael Vink, World Tour level rider with Mr. X100SS, Pablo Popovic, and Michael Knudsen. And as you can see, our Category 1 riders underway, making the way into the ADQ sprint there. And we're going to get those times through. It looks like Michael Kaminsky taking the first of the sprint times, 20.272 seconds from Juan Hoyos. Then Ross Fawcett. So Ross on his birthday, scoring 3 points. Reminder, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points on the way through. And there we go. The results are up on your screen. So Kaminsky taking top points on the first of our 5 sprints. The maximum sprint distance that is going to be available, the maximum points available, 25 points if you took all 5 sprints. Good luck with that one, Michael, I tell you.
Yeah, so Kaminsky, Hoyos, Fawcett, Bjorklund, Vujasin, and Graves just missing out on the points there in 6th.
Oh, nearly made it. First loser there. That's not good news.
We're not having first loser debate.
So Emma is here with me after having covered all of the women's race. And Emma, it was a cracking race, and we had these same segments in there, the sprints and the mountain competition. And seeing those sprint results coming in here in the Category 1 men's, you've been watching and commentating on all of the Sunday Race Club. How do the numbers compare? Are we seeing similar numbers, or are riders adapting their ride?
Well, I think you've got a lot more sprinters in this men's field than you have had in the Category 1 women's field. It was evident by the end of stage 1 that there was one exceptional sprinter in the race field.
Well, let's see if that's going to happen. Make sure you give that a watch back. The next riders will be away very shortly. 4 categories, Category 1, 2, 3, and 4. All on your screen at the moment. Category 1 currently have got 5K underneath their wheels. And just heading out of the pens here. So the riders at the moment looking good as they make their way around. Now, remember, this course has got climbs on the way through, and they are going to be critical. So just watching the riders through that UAQ sprint, this group still holding together. Nobody seeming to go particularly clear, but Michael Kaminsky, the winner of our first sprint, he scored those points, and it's going to be really interesting to see if the same thing develops here. Remember, of course, that you can catch up with all of the women's action. You can watch that on the YouTube channel, and that is going out to you live every day, as well as being recorded. Now let's head across and just see our Category 2 riders lined up. They're going to be our next group of riders to go. Let's run through the teams very quickly for you. Team Tapas in here, a real strong team. Bjarhead, Meyer, Howeiler, Simmons, and Pruce. I think one of the strong teams in this race category. The second of our team is the cyclists. Brilliant play on words there. And we've got riders like Giuliano and Spratt. Nicholas Spratt, a rider who has been competing with Category 1 quite comfortably.
Well, let's hope they've got their heads straight.
We will see. Hubbard's the third of our teams in here, with Mr. G, Krasnich, Kirchner, Boger, and Tortoretto. Up against one of our many Colombian squads and big support, Caligula and Maglio. For me, the 2 standout riders, but don't discount Moreno as well.
This is a strong squad.
Definitely very strong squad, and the Colombian teams always have a reputation of being strong on the climbs. Akatsuki in with our rider Sandro Duque, one of our particularly fast riders, and the riders are away, heading off on a Category 2 race start here on the MyWhoosh Championships. Away they go. So Category 2 underway. Will we see anybody not able to stay in with the group? Let's see how they roll. You can see they are chasing the riders in the Category 1 race field are going to try and make their way up and through.
Well, I think they're all chasing Hassan Sultan at the moment because he's the rider putting the stretch on that Category 2 race field. And Oviedo is the rider with him because they are really stretching it out. And whilst it's not causing much of a gap at the front, it's causing a bit of chasing onto the back of the group to be done by those riders just not watching what's going on quite right.
Yeah, definitely. Just seeing that right-hand side there, Hassan Sultan really going for this and looking very, very strong indeed. We get a better check of who is where and when on the race as they start to go through our segments, through the sprint and through the mountain segments. As you can see, though, categories 1 and 2 both up and racing. Category 3 down on the start pens, as are category 4, and they will be the final 2 categories away. So half of the race field up and racing. Category 2, it's really competitive, isn't it, Emma?
Oh, absolutely. And take a look at that. It's one pack of riders all across the road there. And that width of that pack indicates the fact that they are all riding pretty much at the same pace at the moment. And that's quite true of our Category 2 race field. We regularly see groups of riders on the road because they are all so strong and well matched.
They are indeed. Now we're just watching category 1 at the moment. Certainly it looks like that group is together. We're going to try and keep up with categories 1, 2, 3 and 4 and our 5 sprint segments and our 3 climbs all simultaneously. Fortunately, here is a dab hand at watching 16 things simultaneously. Hopefully that's going to play to our advantages. The riders up and racing. Let's see who is going to take this out. Who's going to take away the prize at the end of this? I'm really interested to see who can deal with 7 days. We've got some great racing coming up, haven't we, Emma?
Yeah, so 8 days, 7 stages. Get that the right way around.
Yeah,
and
it is possible to do it the other way around, but oh my goodness, that would be even more of a killer.
It is possible to do it the other way around, but it would be fast and furious. And I'm expecting some fast and furious riding, and I'm expecting to see different riders with different skills on different days, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. And I'm also looking forward to, Matt, the sprint competition particularly, because it's something we don't see very much on the Sunday Race Club. We do not see sprinters really come to the fore, except when we have a flat finish. So I'm really looking forward to the fact that we've got 5 sprints of 300 metres today, and it is the start of that sprint competition across those 7 stages.
Indeed, it is. And you can see the riders at the moment in category 2 looking to put an early marker down. The pressure is on there on a 4% ascent as the riders just start to make the way through. Just keeping an eye on the front of this race. Looks like Phil Gray's already being aggressive and going on to the front. Mr. X100 in the team here for the UAE Clan team. It'll be very interesting to see how that UAE Clan team deal with having so many strong teams in there. On Sunday Racer Club, we regularly have riders who are out and working. So let's see how the riders race today. It's going to be very interesting to watch them and see the ability, really, I think, of the teams to work as a team. Sunday Race Club qualifiers, we have prize money for our individuals, but not for teams. It's only the final. So only once a month do these teams really tend to ride as a full-on team, maybe with the exception of the Belgian Waffles and potentially the UAE Clan team. The rest of the teams don't seem to quite have that same cohesion. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it is, because it is a team competition from the start. It's not like you have to qualify like you do on the Sunday Race Club to the final and then the team competition comes to play in the final. This is an individual and team competition every single stage. And we are in with Mr. X100 at the moment, who is pushing on here. Never one to be shy about pushing on those pedals and making sure the pace stays high. So X100 here pushing on as we're about 9.4 kilometers into this Category 1 race. And there is a push coming from the Cat 1, Cat 2 at the moment, happy to stay in that large group.
So let's keep an eye on how this progresses, how these riders continue to push as they go through. Mistakes 100 heading up the group as they go through. at the moment. We're going to keep an eye on the riders as they start to amass points coming through, and let's see how they get on when they come in to the results. Remember, of course, we'll be here with day 2, 3, 4. Then it's a rest day, so we're going to be riding the bike, and then it will be days 5, 6, and 7. I say we're going to be riding the bike. That may not be factually correct. I'm hoping I'm in a fit state to ride the bike after the commentary. Hoping memories as well. The sunshine here. We're currently based at sunshine in France. We're basically in the sort of dead central. So it's A, it's warm, and B, it's an early start in the morning, but not as early as some. And that's one of the things, isn't it? I mean, the team here. So we've got the UAE clan team here. Their rider SS, we know, always strong. Always working for the team, real workhorse for them. I think these guys, basically, if you are Gulf States, UAE, heading across, you're probably in the optimum zone because you're about middle of the day for the racing. That for me was always good. And was good racing sort of early to middle. I wasn't good racing late.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because quite often you can race at all different times of the day, depending upon what type of racing you do, whether it's esports or whether mountain biking, road, track, etc. And different times for different race categories. If you are like me and you progress into the veteran women's category, you might be on at 8:30 in the morning at your national race.
Well, that's not the most
not that I'm moaning about it.
I will tell you in a moment my earliest race start. There's 2 of them that are absolute classics. But let's get back to the action for the moment. The Category 2 diving down at speed. So going in and through Category 2, coming in through that sprint. So it looks like Menda Kiewicz goes through with 5 points. Bjarhead with 4. Kusamano with 3, Spratt with 2, and Moreno in 1. 5 regulars in there that we see taking positions, good positions, regularly on the climbs and on the finishes in the Sunday Race Club.
Yeah, well, like we said, it's going to be really good to watch this sprint race play out, and these Category 2 riders looking like it's going to be very well matched as well.
It does indeed. And remember, of course, we could find that we have a tie on the points towards the end. And then that's when we go diving for our take book on the way through.
Yes. Now, one of the things to note, Matt, is it's not just absolute power and absolute highest watts per kilo wins the sprint. It's also got technique. Technique and momentum are key to getting the fastest time through the sprint. Also, utilizing the draft. If you're doing 13 watts per kilo and you're a lone rider out front, you may not take the win. Someone with a lower average watts per kilo, but having utilized momentum and draft could set a faster time.
And that is also true for the climbs here, because being able to use the draft on the climb on this section, we're still traveling at 30 kilometers an hour. So that's 20 miles an hour in Imperial to do the quick conversion over. And that means there's still some draft available. So you're going to be saving energy holding on in the back. And that's even more true when we go on to the level section. So this climb here, long, steep section to start, long, flat section, then a shorter, steep section to finish. Really, really key for these riders on here that they are in touch as it changes gradient from the steps to the flat, and then to the step, and then to the flat again.
Yeah, so we are watching at the moment. Category 1 and Category 2 are underway. Category 3 are in the start pens. They will be the next group of riders to start. Category 4 have a little longer to turn their legs.
They have indeed, and let's see who is going to be able to keep warm, who's going to be able to keep those legs in tip-top shape for heading out on to the course. So SS it is who is leading his way up this climb on your left-hand screen. He's being mobbed at the moment. Zach Nair right up in the mix as well as they move up on the left-hand side. The right-hand side of your screen, you can see the Category 3 riders lined up and ready to go. So they will be our next race field away. As you can just see, this push is coming at the moment. We're just keeping an eye on the riders that go up here. We're watching SS, one of our regular fast competitors, but Zach Nair is right in this mix here, and we really can see this is the cream of the crop coming. Top right-hand side of your screen, you will see the dots opening up as our Category 3 riders are up and out from the start. Some great riders in Category 3 and some great teams. We've got the Go Hard teams, the Surprise team, the Vuelta Colombia team, the Battlers, the Quick Spec, and the MyWhoosh Beast in there. And in Category 3, there's some really strong riders as well who we've seen do some really good work. People like Camel Cath in there, Julio Herrego, Mark Dadson, Carl Tiselius, regular winner on the Sunday Race Club. So I'm thinking that's going to be another competitive race, Phil. We'll try and bring you as much of all of our categories across the competition. But, of course, our fastest riders on the race circuit, it's our Category 1, who you can see on this climb. He's riding in with Vidal Mare up in with this group. Now, these riders are approaching 13.5 kilometers, and that means that they are now heading into the upper section. This is the higher of the two steps. So you come up, and the back of this group are going to have to kick. Now, we just see Mr. X100 at the back of this group here. Now, we know he's a rider who can push through. Generally, will start to work his way through the group by sitting at his own pace, Emma.
Yeah, he does indeed, and a real consummate time trialer and a rider who can balance effort, which is absolutely key. But one of the things that's quite interesting on this course today, Matt, all these Category 4 climbs are 2 kilometres in length. Now, that is not a long climb for this class of riders, and something that these riders will just push on up as though, I was almost going to say, like it's a blip in the road.
It's a big blip. It's the sort of blip I don't like, that's for sure. Now, as we go in underneath the banner here in the Liwa Desert Hills, the very first of these climbs we come up around. This is actually our third climb as well as our first. We have a slightly shorter one as our second climb on the way through. Now, of those riders, Saeed Safrazad led through with the fastest time. Remember, these times are live, so they can be changed by any of the riders on the way through. But Safrazad from Knudsen, from Hoyos, Vujasin, Van Diemen, then Kaminsky and SS coming through. Real mix of teams up there, Emma.
Absolutely, but I'm not surprised by the names. Safrazad, Knudsen, Hoyos, Vujasin, we know really good climbers, Van Diem too. So I'm not surprised, but look at the fact that they are all pretty much consistent. And let's be realistic, other than the one or two that just pushed on the front there and stretched the group, there wasn't a huge gap between any of them.
Indeed, it's certainly looking like very similar performances, but taking the first 5 points, Saeed Safrazad will be heading the top of the table as we go through. But remember, we have 3 climbs on the way through, possible maximum of 15 points in the competition. He's got 5 underneath his belt. He's got those tucked into his back pocket, along with hopefully plenty of gels and fuel on board to get him on the way around. Now, Lucas Zanaska, the rider we're riding with on the left-hand side of your screen, Category 1. We've got Hassan Sultan, the rider who we're riding with Category 2 on the right-hand side. You can see the distances opening up on the road, and 10 minutes between our riders' start times means that the riders, in theory, given the Category 1 has gone off first today, that means that gap should continue to open up, but that's not always the case, is it?
No, it very much depends on how the riders race the course. And I know that sounds logical, but because there are 4 separate race starts, there are 4 individual races going on this course at the same time. And that often leads, well, we often see different tactics in different packs and different categories of racing. You know, sometimes we see a slower start from the Category 1 riders because there's and we may do that on some of the bigger climbing stages, a slower start, a slower, steadier start, because they'll be pushing on harder on the climbs than we might see in Category 2, who want to push on and ride a different style of race.
And I'm really looking forward to the next days of competition. And remember, of course, it is going to have lots of different jerseys on offer. We have the traditional yellow jersey for the winner of the overall classification. We have the white jersey for the youth or under 23 or Espoir. We have the riders in the green jersey. Now, taking a look on the road at the moment as they come in underneath the end of this segment, the riders just making the way in through the second of our sprint segments here, and that is the Leeward Desert Sprint. So we went up the Leeward Desert Hills, we're now through the Leeward Desert Sprint. These are your numbers, the scores on the doors. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? 5 points for your one horse. Birthday boy, he's at it again. Ross Fawcett in second place.
Well, Panizza in 3, Kaminsky in 4, Nair in 5. And are we going to see performances all day from Fawcett in these sprints? I think we might. I think this is a birthday celebration. But great to see the lineup there slightly changing from the first sprint that we saw. So people picking up points, and it's going to be a highly competitive sprint competition, I think. So with the sprint number 2 now complete for our category 1 race field, there are 3 more sprints to contest. The next sprint is the next segment coming up for our category 1 riders. It's going to come at 21 kilometers, and it is going to come off a downhill section. So it is going to be a sprint off of a high pace. Our category 2 riders are a little further back down the field. Our category 3 are in the early stages of the race today. Our category 4 riders have still got just over 3.5 minutes in the start pens.
So 4 categories racing, Emma. So competitive racing in amongst our categories. Really interesting to see the close racing as well. You're not just getting one rider dominating usually. Certainly not in the men's race so far, but of course lots of distance. All of our stages are available to view on the MyWhoosh.com website. So it's www.mywhoosh.com. On there, if you go to events, you can get hold of the rule set. You can see the tech guide. You've got details of the course, the profiles, the maps, so you can see what's coming up for our riders, whether that's our time trial stage or our epic mountain stage. I love epic mountain stages, only because I can do the silly voices on the way through. Emma, have you got, before we hit the next segment, which is going to be coming fairly shortly at 21 kilometers, some details? We'll just call the sprints through because we've just seen another sprint coming through from the riders in category 3 as they make their way down here. So looks like category 3 through that first sprint segment. So they're scoring points as well. Give us a quick overview, and we might have to jump in and out a little bit as they go through. Once we've looked at the results here, so it looks like Luca Barca scoring top spot from Orrego Quadrelli, as well as Nogueira coming in through. We're just going to take a little check. Look at that. Taylor Gosselin goes through the fastest time.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because it's not always the first rider across the line that sets the fastest time in these sprints. You know, often riders at the back of the pack are the ones utilising the draft to set a fast time. So they will naturally come through, not at the front, maybe mid-pack. So interesting to see that changing and giving a different result with a different tactic of racing today. So with those sprints underway and out and about, that UAQ sprint now for the category 3 riders under their wheels and behind them, we are back in now with category 1 on the road and category 2 on the road, and our category 3 riders coming up to that 5 kilometre mark. Our category 4 riders are the next ones out of the start pen, but just jumping in with category 2, we've still got a large race pack to all together in that big group as they are heading towards that first climb of the day. And that climb is a category 4 timed segment. It's 2 kilometers long. It's got an average gradient of 3.6%, but there are steeper sections on that. And it's a little bit of a stepped climb, you know, because there's a little flat respite before they go for the final kicker.
It is, and this will be telling as they make their way up. So category 1 at 18.6k, 11.7 for category 2, category 3 at 5.25, and category 4, well, they are spinning their legs around. That category 4 race field, we have in there 5 teams in that competition. Going to be really interesting to see who takes it out. Now, the teams there, Team Alpha, Saddle Squad, Red Races, Team Poolidor and the Sprocket Science are going to be really, really up for this. We'll see who's going to take that out. I know Emma's been looking through those riders as they await down on the start pen. Emma can refresh your mind because we're doing both the women's and the men's, and away they go. So here we are, Category 4 underway. Let's look for those very familiar names, people like Cameron Dadson, who we're following out from the pens now. Let's see what these riders have left in the legs, ready for stage 1. They've done their warm-up, they've done all of the training, they are away. We'll be keeping an eye on them as they come through as much as possible, but we are back with the fastest riders and the leaders on the road. SS and Michael Kaminsky, Knudsen is up here, Cutler up here, Popovich, Noren, a real who's who at the front of the race.
Yeah, there is a real who at the front of the race here with Fawcett, Cutler, Mayer, Heaney, Graves, X100. You know, these riders are pushing on. Hoyas is there, Safrazad is there. This is a large pack of riders. They are tight across the road and bunching well. But Matt, you know, it's a who's who on the start list with 31 riders in this category, you know, with the 6 teams. To be honest, it's not just the team competition I don't think we can call. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 days at least into this 8-day stage race before we start to see contenders in the categories.
Well, let's watch this unfold. I always love stage races for that because there's plot twists all over the place.
There are.
Now, talking of plot twists, we must send Get Well Soon to the one and only Tadej Pogačar. Pog, get well soon, buddy. He has absolutely set alight the racing. People were saying, what will it take to stop him? Well, it was a crash and a broken arm in Liège, Bastogne-Liège, that did that. But the UAE team rider, I've got to say, get well soon. I saw he was out enjoying some time in Monaco and enjoying the downtime. What better to do than take a bit of rest? Let's hope he doesn't come along and join in. I think there was a few worried people that maybe he was going to go turbo training.
Recovery on the
turbo in the championships. Fortunately for pretty much everybody, I think that's
even
not
with
happened.
the broken arm, it would be dangerous.
I suspect that the one and only Mr. Pogačar, who are really with that UAE team, have dominated the race and had a great start to the season. It's been in that, and I'm loving the fun that has returned to racing with all of the characters in there, from Van der Poel, Van Aert, along with Tadej Pogačar. So our riders on the way are currently covering 20.5 K. Good to see that we've got Michael Vink on board, a teammate of Tadej Pogačar. Michael Vink has been on duty with the World Tour team and has been out and racing for them. Now, in the Sunday race, if you haven't watched it, there has been a thing, which has been the mission to beat Michael Vink.
Yeah, well, consummate climber was Vink, and he set the standard, didn't he, in the Sunday Race Club? And the other riders pretty much decided that they had to get together to work out how they beat Michael Vink, because no individual rider was going to do it on their own. However,
he is beatable. Let's see. Yeah. He's not shown in the sprints yet. I suspect, as Emma intimated, they'd be going for something a bit bigger and longer like the overall. But this is the second of our sprints. Remember, we have, the third of our sprints on the way through. I'm losing count already. So in sprint number 3, let's see who is going to add their points to the total overall.
Yeah, so riders coming through that sprint section. So starting at 21 kilometres, finishing at 21.3. It's a 300-metre sprint section and just off of the downhill. So coming in hot and coming in fast. Penultimate taking it from Hoyas, from Kaminsky, from Fawcett and Bjorklund. So the riders that are been regularly at the front of the sprints in this category 1 field, mixing it up a little, but still being close to the front there, picking up those points in full 5 place. Penultimate in that first position. So that is indeed the Bahrain sprint complete now. So that was sprint number 3. 2 more sprints to come in the latter stages of this race. The next thing these riders are going to come onto in quick succession is our second climb. So the Bahrain climb coming at 25.2 kilometres, a 2-kilometre climb, category 4, that will be under these category 1 riders will shortly. A little bit further down the trail, coming up for 15 kilometres of race distance now, is our Category 2 race field. This is a large pack, but we're starting to see, if you look at the top right-hand corner of that screen, we're starting to see a little gap appear there. Riders just having to push on to close and get back onto the wheels of the group in front. So a little bit of work being done at the back of that race field in Category 2, as the front of this race field in Category 3 continue to tick along strongly. So they're ticking along strongly, but this is pretty much a recovery pace for this group. I'm looking at the heart rates, Matt. They are low at the moment. So 142 from Cutler, indicating to me that this is a steady pace for this Category 1 race lead pack. This is a recovery part of the course. They've just gone through that third sprint. They are coming up to the next climb, but it is not under their wheels yet. So you can see on that top right-hand corner screen on the profile graphic that the group are indicated by the green triangle, and they are coming up to the bottom of the next Category 4 climb. That will shortly be under their wheels. Now, can Safrazad take this second climb of the day to add those points to the first climb, where he took the full 5 points that were available? At the back of the group, X100, Van Diemen and Safrazad and Vink, all just monitoring the back of that group now. The group very close together, spread all over the road, indicating a very steady pace going up here, all riding pretty similarly as the gradient now starts to move upwards.
So this climb really is testing the legs of the riders at 23.3k. And remember, of course, that these riders know that they have to make this count on the way through. Every single pedal stroke is going to be critical, making the way in to the finish. So watching Mr. X100 here, the road captain of that team. Mr. X100 SS have traditionally been the ones who've done the work with the riders benefiting from that in the team. Will that be the case today? Mr. X100 qualifying for that Masters competition. You can see wearing that green jersey with the gold band on the right sleeve, and that's basically indicating that he is in the running for that competition as well. Now we are going to take a check of these races that go around this right hand turn. The leaders at the front of the race at the moment with a good sized gap now as they come up to 24 kilometers, just taking that right hand turn here. So we've gone through kilometer the third of our sprints, and this is now teeing up into towards our next sections. Don't forget, of course, plenty of distance to cover, 70 kilometers the race distance in total. So categories 1, 2, 3 and 4 underway, out on the course and riding. Category 4 at what is 5 kilometers, 10k for category 3, 17 for category 2, and category 1 now moving into that 25 kilometer marker. So as our screens scan across here, the riders move onwards. We're in with category 1.
We are indeed in with category 1. They are continuing to climb up this King of the Mountains category 4 section on the course now, as we see that group stretch a little bit, but we're not losing anybody from the group. But it's Hoyes in the lead with SS Van Elst, Cutler, Van Diemen and Dan Graves is there as well, and Van Elst. They are pushing and pulling this group up this climb, and we are up and on the slight downhill section before the finish.
So here we go, a real wind-up coming up from the group. You can just see that pace is picking up here. You can see the revs are coming. So here we go, the pressure is on. So look at this, the riders really putting the pressure on the riders on the rest of this race field. Here comes the gantry. So here we go, we hit the start of the Bahrain climb proper. Now this is shorter than the previous mountain climbs. We've hit this as we come up, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the riders ride this at the moment. You can see that at the moment we are on a 4% gradient almost, and at the moment it's not too explosive. We're seeing one or two numbers light up in yellow or red. The deeper red, the higher the power, the yellow, the stage just before. But you can see as we ride in with Lucas Zanaska, pretty much all of this group sitting comfortably at this pace. But this is still early in the stage. Remember, we have 70k in total. Burn too many matches, put too much effort in now, and you could be in trouble later.
Yeah, you could do indeed. And you can get caught out if you're not thinking about your strategies and plans here. You need to be riding within yourself early on at the moment, because there is still a long way to go.
There is indeed. Now we are looking down on the riders on the way through here, and you can just see we're riding in with Saeed Safrazad, who currently has the polka dot jersey. He's the man who is defending his lead in the King of the Mountains as they come in through this section. Now, he's got to set the fastest time through here. He won't want to drop too many points. If he does, he'll want it to be to a teammate. They will want to take away the overall GC in terms of the mountains classification. The classification in the mountains classification, they want to take the stage and the overall. Everybody will want to take away as many prizes as possible. I mean, that is the nature of it, but you can't focus on everything. So it's going to be really interesting. Saeed Safrazad, regularly a mountaintop finisher, challenging people like Michael Knudsen and Michael Vink. But are we going to see the big contenders come forward now as we start to go on the climbs? Remember, the point scale is weighted towards the big mountains. So you sometimes will see somebody go mopping up the early points to give them a early lead, thinking they're not going to keep it. But if the big boys come out to play, or should we say the lightweight little boys come out to play, then we are going to see a very different story as the riders all fight for every point. Because it could come down to 1 point at the end of all of the days of competition.
Yeah, and things come down often to very small fractions of seconds and points. As Hoyas is the rider pushing on here, Kaminsky and Vujasin have kicked too, so has Graves, because that is the end of this climb. That is the end of the segment they are about to come under as they push hard to take the fastest time.
So underneath the banner they go, the gradient levels out here, and now this is where you may see a counter-attack. Let's catch up with the results from that. So coming in through, that is going to mean that Saeed Safrazad at the moment has 10 points in the competition. That means that he is clear of the competition and he should take away the win in the stage for the King of the Mountains. There's only one climb left. He could be challenged for that because somebody could get close, but I don't think he is going to be beaten. It is mathematically possible. If he scores no points and somebody else has scored, say, 3 sets of 4, they would have 12 points at the end. So it can be beaten, but he is in prime spot at the moment. It's a mathematical possibility, but at this stage, would you bet against Saeed Safrazad sealing that on the last climb?
Let's think so. I think in the overall climbing, when you think about it, Safrazad is often a teammate of Michael Knudsen, both outstanding climbers. Michael Vink is in the UAE clan team with Popovic and Knudsen. So Safrazad today, and throughout the next of the 8 days, is on a different team. And I think that's going to bring a very different dynamic. And Safrazad is laying his intentions really early in this race on stage 1.
I'll be really interested to know how that team mix has gone in and how that's been decided. I mean, say Safrazad, I wouldn't want to lose him off my team.
Yeah, but who do you lose? Who do you bring in? Who do you not? You know, if you've got 5 team members, you've got class. You know, SS is a workhorse for the team. X100, the time trialing ability of that rider to close gaps down, absolutely fantastic. If you're thinking about differences and bringing in a rounded team, Popovic has got the most amazing kick. You know, we've seen him at the top of a climb kick and sprint to the finish to take the win. Knudsen and Vink, you know, you can hardly get better climbers, and we've seen them time and time again on the MyWhoosh platform, you know, really come into their own on, you know, 10, 12, 15 kilometre climbs. So Safrazad, again, another phenomenal climber and with a good sprint effort. You know, when you've got so many class riders to choose from, how do you choose 5?
Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you one man who I'd want on my team. I certainly want him in front of me when I'm commentating is Phil Graves. The professional hobbyist that is Phil Graves, on his way through. This is a former professional Ironman. He's a regular on the platform. He has raced, we think, and this is according to Phil's figures, so we do trust Phil generally. We can trust him to generally. Well, we can trust him to attack. I wouldn't want to be on a race against him, but
well, you know, he'd be going off the front.
That is true, but he reckons he's missed about 3 Sunday race clubs in 2.5 years. I'll tell you something that would not surprise me. Phil Graves on the attack here and starting to wind up the racing. He is at kilometre 29.3. Now, from the end of the Bahrain climb, this is one of our longest runs across to the next sprint segment. It's 15.4k, and in fact, the next longest gap is 15.3k, and that is the final 15.3k, and that is between either a sprint segment and a mountain or a mountain and a sprint. So what you're going to find, this is a long stretch now. Someone is off in pursuit of Graves, who's going after him. Let's take a look at the top of the standings. We're just waiting to see if our ticker will make its way up there. It is going to be interesting to see who's gone now. Michael Vink went after him. That's an interesting move.
Oh, it's dangerous,
they know
you know.
that they can't let Graves go, but Michael Vink, you couldn't let Michael Vink go either.
No, and Cutler's coming across too, because people are now starting to sit up. Vink's gone over the top of Graves, and now we've got 3 riders. We've got Vink, Graves and Cutler with a 2-second gap back to the group, and I don't think the group are going to let that hold. They're going to chase these 3 down. When Vink rode the Sunday Race Club, there was always a point in the race where he time trialled away from the group.
Not now, please, not now. Not 30k out of 70.
Not at 30k. That would be a 40-kilometre time trial. I'm not thinking this group are going to let him go, though, because today is a pretty flat stage. I would think it's going to benefit the group. It's going to benefit those who draft, and it's going to benefit the momentum and the movement through the group rather than a lone rider out there. That is a lot of hard work if you want to go solo today.
It is, and look at the yellow dots on your screen, top right-hand side. They are stretched right out in one long line. With this attack by Graves, it's been answered by Vink. Cutler making his way across. Knudsen, Popovic, Van Elst, SS, Hoyos, all the big contenders are there. And what this is going to do, we're going to see a regroup. I cannot see it going clear, but we're going to see a regroup, and we are going to lose riders in 1s and 2s off the back who are unable to stay with these very high-powered kicks as they go clear. And look at that. As soon as they get caught, Phil Graves has gone again.
Yeah.
He's gone off the front again. So they just got pulled back. He's counter-attacking again. And one of these days, he's going to go clear and be faced with a long ride to the finish.
Well, what you don't want is this pack is for those riders who have been gapped now to get back on. Whilst you haven't gone clear at the front, you have gone clear at the back, and you've started to shed 2, 3, 4 riders. That first attack. Now, had Graves sat in the bunch and not gone again, those riders would have been able to get back on. What we're seeing now is the gap grow between this group and the chase group behind. So the effort here from Phil Graves going over the top and putting in an attack once, coming back together, putting in an attack again, has now shed riders from the back of this group. And we can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen, we've got 2 discrete yellow groups on the road.
Well, this is a very elite group on the front here. I think this looks to be about 15 riders or so. Just trying to take a look at the time gap, the splits in between these riders as we see another move. Phil Graves, I tell you something, there's no keeping this man down. Now, they breed him tough in Yorkshire. I tell you something, he is a York resident. He lives in the flatlands, but all the way around him are some of the most stunning hills that have been used for stages of the Tour de France when it came to Yorkshire, stages that have been etched into the history books of cycling within the UK. Things like Rosedale Chimney with 33% climbs. Yep. 33%. They don't know how to do hairpins.
We might not have
UK.
20-kilometre climbs in the UK, but we do have really steep climbs.
Well, just taking a little bit of a look at a response here, because we were seeing a gap open between Group 1 and Group 2. Mr. X100 at 13 watts per kilo kick to come out of the group behind. Lucas Zanaska has sensed that this is a chance to get across with somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. He's done that behind his Heaney, Bird and co. They are all trying to make contact. Here comes Zanaska. So Lucas Zanaska's going to come on, and it's a drip from the rear group to the front group, and people are having to work to get across. And there will be a point in this race, in this stage, I think, where we see an insurmountable gap be opened between the first group and those left behind.
Yeah, well, one of the hardest jobs at the moment is making sure you don't drop that group, because this group is the group that are going to be taking it to the finish. The last thing you want to do is be dribs and drabs off the back, and the kicks that you need to stay with them, absolutely important at this point in time, because if any gap goes now, it's just going to grow and grow in the next 40 kilometres.
It will indeed. Now let's have a little look. We are at 33 kilometres almost. We've still got just under 10 kilometres to our next key point. That is the start of the climb of the Liwa Desert Hills. Still a long, long way to go. Now Cutler and Graves again are the riders who are trying to make this happen on the front. They're really taking the riders on here. Really interesting to see. Now, Phil Graves riding with Tim Cutler in that beast mode, pudding powered by mode squad. So really interesting to see the beast mode team here. They have got on board really experienced rider with Graves, but then you've got riders like Tim Cutler who we know can mix it up with the rest of the race field as they make the way in. I'm not sure who's going to have the Ferrari-like pace to make it to the end. Let's hope they've got the modern Ferrari reliability, not that of the 1950s, because I tell you something, they may have been classic and look good, but they didn't have the power. Now they do. Yeah. And look at this. These riders are absolutely motoring along. I mean, they are just... This is an easy section for them. They're still travelling at 33 kilometres an hour.
Well, their engines are revving, Matt, and that rev is on a part of the course where if you just look at the course map, you'd think this was the section where the riders were going to draw a breath. You think they were going to transition this section as a group and take the pace off. But no, these engines of these riders are working and working hard, because the attack has come after attack and it has split the group up. The group now looking like they are happy with the number of riders in it and settling back now during this transition to around 42.5 kilometres, which is where we will see our next sprint.
So as a reminder from the course map that we saw earlier on, and don't forget after this long loop we will be coming through the very same start line where we started the race. We'll then be coming back over the sprint line of the UAQ sprint. That will come at 42.5k. And then the riders will be making the way down into the dip and then up on to the climb. Now, our riders, as we've said, are fighting for not just the bragging rights. They are fighting for a fantastic amount of prize money here today. Let's run through the prize money for our first category riders. This is potentially for our fastest riders of the day. I'll say that again, $10,000 for first in the classification overall, running to $1,000 for 10th. Our team's classification, $42,000 across the team, down to $10,000 for 5th. Our individual sprint winner at the end, the green jersey holder at the end of the last stage, $5,000, as has our under-23 youth winner, as has our mountains polka dot jersey wearer, and our Masters winner also $5,000. Now, of course, you could be winning multiple prizes across those categories. You may be the fastest individual, you may have the fastest team as well, and you may well be an under 23 rider and win some sprints on the way through. I suspect you're more likely to win the mountains than the sprint, so if you win in the overbook, who knows, we will see. This is something very, very new, having 4 categories and all of the prizes. Each day, of course, we have our stage money up for grabs. $1,000 for the stage winner and $500 for both the sprint winner in the stage and the KOM winner in the stage. Now, does Michael Vink want some of that? I bet he does. And I'll tell you something, you wouldn't bet against him. He's an absolutely class act on the bike. We had the pleasure of putting words to the action, watching Michael Vink solo to victory, putting in some great attacks, and it was no surprise to see him picked up by a World Tour teams. At the moment, though, he's surrounded by a lot of riders.
Yeah, well, I think he is a marked man on the bike today, and he's going to be a marked man for the next 8 days, because these riders know how he races and they know how strong he is. They know that they need to use all the riders in their team to beat him. So I think there's going to have been a lot of chat amongst the teams, Matt, a lot of technical discussion, a lot of tactical discussion, and they will have a plan. And part and parcel of that plan is, how do we stop Michael Vink from winning?
Yep, that sounds very familiar.
I think Michael Vink has a plan, how do I win?
I think he does now. Really interesting here. Mr. X100 is distance from that leading group. We see these kicks, and Mr. X100 has to answer that. That is really, really important, that he can turn around and go back and get back to that group. He won't want to be distanced at this stage in the racing. It's a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still a significant part of the race to go. We are just over half race distance as Cutler's in 1, Graves in 2, Van Elst, Hoyer, Safrazad, Van den Eckhout and Vink are all pushing on as this group comes back together. We've got a rider or two just chasing behind, but as we cross the marina now and come over the bridge, we are looking at that gap closing down and this group coming back together. So X100 is the rider who is at 6 or 7 seconds off the back of this group. We're just watching him on the right-hand side of your screen. He's just a little bit further behind the group. Not a huge gap to close at the moment, but the pace just different. Look at that. The front group now at 39 kph, X100 at 34 kph. That is a gap that is going to be very hard to close at the moment unless that front group sit up a little.
And the only thing in the advantage, I think, of Mr. X100 is this is a stage race. It's a long race. There is a lot of time to work. And some days, actually, you need a rest day and you need to just save your energy. We do see this on major tours where riders will start off and actually will take some easier days. They will sit on. Now, there is no time cut-off on this that you would see on a tour. So if you're out on the open road on a tour, there's generally a cut-off. Now, in the UK, I can tell you for a fact that generally it's 15 minutes from the first vehicle to the last vehicle. And if you aren't in that 15 minutes, you're out the race. Here, we don't have that. So you can have a steadier day, save your energy for the next day. But I tell you something, I don't think Mr. X100 understands that concept.
No, well,
because you know what, he's going to get back on here.
He is indeed going to close the gap, and he's got Kaminsky and Bjorkhead and Simon Walter is the rider out of the mix here because Bjorkland is riding with SS and closing that gap with 2 X100 and onto that group. So absolute credit where credit is due. X100 is the rider with the power on the pedals because he has closed that gap, and well, I wasn't sure he was going to do it. So all credit to X100 for closing that gap and just showing us how it can be done.
Yeah, great riding on his way through there. And I think really a credit to the riders. But no sooner does he get back than Michael Vink, Phil Graves and co are on the attack here. Emma, no rest for the wickedest one race. There's no rest for anybody today.
No, not in this race there isn't, because absolutely everybody who is giving it their all. So Vink has pushed on again. The group has caught back. The group are all together. And of course, Vink, a teammate of X100. They're both in the UAE clan team. So could you possibly be thinking there, Matt, that Vink waited to push on till X100 was back in the group because he wants his teammate with him? So SS is here, Dan, Safrasad, Knudsen, Graves. This group are all together. A little stretched at the moment just crossing this bridge, but now they roll onto the downhill section. The riders at the back concertinaing back into the group and just closing that short gap.
So a real fast move going through the section here. We're on this run in that takes us through. Now we've got the dip and rise prior to the UAQ sprint. And remember that UAQ sprint coming up 42.5k. So our riders, all 4 categories out and rolling. The first on the road are category 1 leaders. They're coming up for 1 hour of racing. They're going to have covered over 40 kilometres at that point. You've got 48 minutes on the clock, 30k under the wheels for category 2, 39 minutes and 23k for category 3. And for category 4, that's 30 minutes of racing and 16.5 kilometres covered. So our riders looking good at the moment, and certainly it looks to me like Hassan Sultan means business. He's on the attack here at 30.4k. So it looks like he's really starting to stretch this group again. And this is that same flat section, Emma, that we said, yeah, it's not really a lot there, but maybe they were watching category 1 and said there was a bit of action.
I honestly looked at this course profile and thought that's where the riders are going to take a break. We're going to see a large group riding through that section because we've got the first 25, 26 kilometres of this race course today that is fast and furious with 2 climbs and 3 sprints and the start, etc. People will be settling down, getting into their rhythm. The sprinters will be coming to the fore. The climbers will be giving it a go to pick up points. And then we will see the front regroup because they'll have shed riders through that first 26k. We'll see a bit of a regroup, a bit of a settle down before we launch into the final 20 plus kilometres of this race, where we have 2 more sprints, a category 4 climb, and then of course the run into the finale. But no, I was wrong. I took a look and I made an assumption. Never make an assumption, whether you're a rider or a viewer. Never assume what you think is going to happen will happen, because you're going to need to change your tactics and change your thought process on the road.
Well, there's a really famous phrase, which is no battle withstands the first contact with the enemy. No battle plan withstands first contact. So the moment that somebody else does something, whatever plan you've got, you might as well go
throw it out the window and start again.
You're going to have to revise it somewhat, and I think there's a large degree of that, and that is part of the team tactics. And that's why it's so important to have people like Mr. X100 in your group, isn't it? Because an experienced road captain is key. Now we see it in category 2. We're seeing riders going off down the road. What the teams do behind, they need to think about that and make sure that's sorted. And so communicating what you're going to do is almost as important as having a firm plan about what you're going to do and what you're going to do to respond.
Oh, absolutely, because in this category 2 race, we've now got a 10-second gap. So we've got 2 leading riders. Sultan is the rider in one. He has company from Mayor. And then we've got a 10-second gap back to the chase group. So those riders are now going to have to think on their feet and work out what they're going to do. So having a captain on the road is absolutely essential. Having a director sportif in your ear, having feedback from the riders in your team around how they're feeling and who's going to attack when or who's going to do what, giving everybody else the heads up is absolutely key.
And I think having that communication in your ear and being able to talk rather than time, really, really critical. I mean, we talk about our riders multitasking and messaging, and one of the key things on MyWhoosh, of course, is that you can talk in game, but our riders will want a more private conversation, I'm sure. So they'll all be using something like Discord to talk amongst themselves without anybody listening in.
Absolutely. They may well be talking amongst themselves, but I tell you what, Sultan's not talking at the moment. He's pushing on in this category 2 race, and Sultan and Mayor really working well together, putting in the gap is going out now, so now we are out to 12 seconds. So Greer is the rider with Maglio doing the chasing at the front of that group behind, but they are not making inroads into those 2 leading riders in that Category 2 race. So we have got 2 riders out front in the Category 2 race with a chase pack behind. In the Category 1 race, we've got a lead group who are shedding riders every time they attack, every time this lead group in this Category 1 race pushes on at the front. More riders go out the back. Simon Walter and Bjorklund, the 2 riders off the back of that group now, as we jump back in with our Category 2 race, and we are in with these 2 leading riders. The gap is still going out now. These riders putting in around 4.5, 5 watts per kilo here. This is a really big effort from these 2. They're taking it in turns because the chase rider distance is now 15 seconds.
Well, we're back with Category 1. We're at 42 kilometres, 42.5. An opportune time to give you the standings on the sprint. At the moment, with 3 sprints complete, there are 13 points, and leading is Hoyos. He's the leader on the road. 10 points overall is Michael Kaminski. 9 points is Ross Forster. 8 points for Panizza. And then it is 3 points for Bjorklund, 1 point for Vujasin and Zanaska each. So that means at the moment, coming into this sprint, the leader is Juan Hoyos. However, we are coming up with 42.5k, and that means the banner is on its way. This is about who can sprint. And look at this. Looks like Vic and Safrazad are having a bit of an overall battle here, because they are currently sprinting the way through. Maybe they want to take some of these points on the way through.
It's Hoyos kicking at 13 watts per kilo. Kaminski has come too, kicking out 13.4. Panizza is there as well. They are going over the top of Vink. Hoyos is pushing on. Kaminski is there. Vink is there too. These riders pushing, going through that sprint banner. It is going to be really interesting to see who has just set the fastest time through there, because boy, there were some big numbers coming out.
There were indeed, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how we go. So look at that. Hoyos takes 5 points, extends his lead at the top of the standings. Kaminski comes in behind him. Mr. X100 scoring big day. Remember, these results are live and could well change. Panizza scoring again, so that is going to help his total of points. And Johan Noren, I think that's Noren's first point score so far. So we've had 4 of our point competition, the sprints competition done, and the scores on the doors at the moment, well, they are adding up, because at the moment it is 18 points. In the lead is Juan Hoyos. It's 14 points for Michael Kaminski in 2. It is going to be 10 points at the moment for Ricardo Panizza in 3. It's then going to be Ross Forster up in the top 5 as well. He's got 9 points, and those are the only riders on double digits at this stage.
Yeah, so we are seeing these riders now coming through that sprint. That was sprint number 4. So 1 more Category 4 climb and 1 more sprint to go before the long run in to the finish. Now that Category 4 climb coming at 50.5 kilometres, 2 kilometres in total, and then the sprint coming shortly after, in fact just after the descent off of that climb. So we go up, we descend, and then we go into the sprint. So I think this is going to be a really interesting section, Matt, because this could be the place where this group breaks again, and it may well break to what become the final front pack.
I think you've called that very, very much how I see the racing unfolding coming through. Really interesting to see that this group has already been whittled down in Group 1, but nowhere near as much as the riders in Category 2. But on the front again, Michael Vink, Said Safrazad, then it's Popovic, Grace, Van Elst, Hoyos and Knudsen in that order. So Safrazad, the man in that polka dot jersey, whereas he's currently leading the competition. He's got 2 wins on the way through. If I get a chance to draw breath, I'm going to work my way through, and I'll try and bring you some updated totals for the riders as they finish, as they come into that final climb. Time running out for me to do that. Emma, Would you like to call some racing whilst I do some maths? I know this is a real reversal for us.
I'm not sure what I've just heard there, Matt. Did you just say you were going to do some maths?
Yes, let me get on with it.
Right, okay, well, in which case I probably should be very quiet for the next 5 minutes so that the cogs can whir in Matt's brain. But but the lead group now at 45 kilometres. Just a reminder, we are a 70-kilometre race distance today, 465 metres of elevation, 5 sprints and 3 Category 4 climbs. We are dropping in with our Category 2 leaders, who last time we were in with Mare and Sultan, they had a 12-second lead on the group behind. That has not gone out at the moment. It is still sat at around 11 or 12 seconds, and it's looking like there is quite a group behind. So these two riders working well together, taking turns on the front and trying to establish and continue that gap that they have in that Category 2 race. Our Category 4 riders coming up for just over 21.5 kilometres into this 70k race. They are transitioning into the tunnel at the moment, but it's looking like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I could keep going. There are more than 11 riders in that front group at the moment, so one large pack in that Category 4 race. There were indeed 27 riders taking to the start sheets in Category 4, and it's looking like we've pretty much got at least half of that race field in that front group. So Sultan in this Category 2 race pushing on. He's just come through and taken the lead from Mel, but actually they are working together, these two riders, and riding really strongly. They are pretty much doing a 2-up time trial off of the front of this Category 2 race field. Looking across on the Category 1 race field, Knudsen had just put a kick in there, not allowed to time trial off the front because Mare, Cutler, Van Elst, SS, all pushing up and coming in and closing back down onto his wheels. So we've got a large group of Category 1 riders still in this race. 46.5 kilometres coming up. It is not long until they come up to our final Category 4 climb of the day.
So just before we get there, we have a little kicker. You can see it on the course profile, top right-hand side of your screen. And as they come up and through, we are going to bring you the updated results of the climbs. So let's give you, as we have it, and bear in mind this is my exceedingly dodgy maths in here, the results as they stand, as they come in to us. Now remember, these results are live, so there could be riders who are not in the leading group who are going to change the standings. Now, as we have them, and this is the subject to Matt's dodgy maths, not very good at maths, there's a reason Emma does it, not me. We have the following. So, in the mountains competition, at the moment, your leader is currently Said Safrazad. He has 10 points. In second place is Michael Knudsen with 7 points. In third place, tied in third place, 2 riders with 4 points each. That is Lionel Verjassin and Michael Kaminsky, both the Belgian Waffle squad. And then we have tied in 5th place Mr. X100 and Bruce Bird, both with 1 point each. They are the point scorers so far, but not decided yet. So basically, if Said Safrazad on the final climb can finish in first or second place, he can't be touched. No matter what happens, whether or not he's in second place, and we see Knudsen taking the win. But really interesting, it's Knudsen and Safrazad who are right up in the mix in that competition. Will they be the riders who take that? And remember, of course, that we still have riders on the course setting fast times out on the way through, so these are live results. Don't forget, of course, all of the live results will be on the MyWhoosh.com website. You can click on there on results. They're live at the moment. They will then transition to being unofficial at the end of the stage. Now, in terms of timescales, all those results need verifying. Fingers crossed, that was me touching wood very quickly, that will happen in time before the next stage, which it's going to have to, because otherwise I'm going to be called to do even more dodgy maths. At that point, they will become official. And when they are official and verified, then that's the point at which we've got the data all in for the riders. Remember, there is the possibility that a rider will not be able to put in a verified ride. If that is the case, there'll be one of two scenarios. One is that they will be ANL or null. Their result will be a null. That is because there has been a fault rather than a disqualification, which will be a whole different ballgame. If a rider is annulled, then they will stay in the race, but will only be competing for stage placings. They will not have that stage result count, but they can stay in the race and in the competitions, but not that stage will not count. If a rider is disqualified, as per anything else, disqualification means disqualified. You're out, and that is it. Game over. Early shower or worse, so it will be game over if that were to happen. Fingers crossed, hopefully not one rider will be annulled and not one rider will be disqualified. But in a long time covering esports and gaming in general, I'll put you money that doesn't happen, because just like you would find in any discipline, there's going to be lots of things happening. So keep up with the results on the MyWhoosh.com website. Don't forget to join us every day for the coverage. You can get in touch with me. It's Matt Fixer Payne on social media. You can get hold of Emma
at Biking Emma.
And don't forget, of course, to give us a tag. Put a tag into those posts. We want to see what you're up to. We want to see that pain cave. We want to see just how big the puddle of sweat is on the floor. Well, I do. Emma's probably a little bit more squeamish than me. And don't forget, of course, we want to see your pain caves. We want to know how much recovery drink you needed to drink to get ready for the next stage. We want to know whether you could sleep at night, whether you had some amazing recovery technique, if only so that we can nick it and try and recover ourselves.
Yeah, don't give your tactics away.
Well, let's see who sends what. Make sure you tag us in on there. Now, with our category one now, this is one of my favourite parts of the course. We come round the roundabout, we dip down now, and then we're going to come up into this section of climb here. This is a steep double step climb. Let's take a look on the map and just as importantly, if not more, on the profile for where we are. So we're in Arabia. We are making our way around the course and we are coming into the critical 2 segments, which are the section of our climbs. So the first loop going out and around from the start around the big lap on to the full circumference. Make our way around there. We have got to make our way in to the finish. Now, let's show you. We are coming in to the Liwa Desert Hills for the second time. So that was on the right-hand side of the course, coming from the shore into the hills, the Liwa Desert Hills at 50.6k to 52.5. We are currently just on the little blip before. It doesn't look much, does it? But
well,
it is.
It might not look much, but actually it is indeed a short, sharp section, and then that flat run in to the descent before we come up the climb. And we said this was a critical stage at part of the stage earlier, didn't we? Because that category 4 climb then runs in to the sprint. And these riders are literally around 150 meters away from the start banner of that climb.
So here we go. We've done that big descent into the dip. We're on to the climb. In through the start banner. This is the final chance for points. Remember, your leader in the polka dot skin, so is Saeed Safrazad. He'll be looking for the fastest time. He'll have looked to come into this section at the back of the pack and then make his way to the front. That is how to get the fastest time on any segment. Start with the last time through and then get yourself up to the front and be the first person over the line. That's in a perfect world. Good luck with that one when you've got riders of this quality around you. Now, we're in with Mr. X100, and we know that he's going to have to time trial his way up here. This initial kick up here last time saw him fighting for the wheels. He's at the back of the group at the moment. He can't afford to let this gap go. In front, you can see the main group are pushing, but look at this. Yet again, he's showing that he does not give up. He's just jumping on. And this is going to be really critical for the team. Interestingly, Lionel Jassin is currently out of contention. So Vujassin, the rider who's currently sitting in equal 3rd place in the climbs competition, is not going to score points now. There's no way back from that as we go up to the front. Pim Van Diemen, SS Fink, Van El Safazad chasing hard here. They are really pushing on it now, and it's Van Diemen who is leading the way up, but SS has gone over the top here, and this is going to do some damage.
Yeah, it is indeed going to do some damage. So SS in 1 at the moment, Van Diemen in 2, Vink in 3. Safrazad has come through the pack into 4 as they continue to push here. Hoyes is watching the front, so is Van Elst and Martins and Cutler. We've got a small gap forming now back as this lead group really push for this climb, and the riders behind need to really watch because that gap gets exacerbated on the descent. We are going to see them in real trouble, and we are going to get the gap form, and a lead group and a breakaway go away. So Vink is moving to the front. SS is in 2. Safrazad is there. Nair, Van Diem, Hoyes, Cutler. These riders pushing on, but as we switch back 50, 60 metres down the road, we can see the back of the group.
Well, we can see the back of the group there, Emma. It is absolutely frantic, chasing by Mistakes 100 that is going to see him make contact. He's not the last rider of the group by any stretch. So riders now distance behind him, but look at the front here. This is where we are seeing the push. Michael Vink really is putting the thumb screws on the riders. He's absolutely nailing it here. He's over 7 watts per kilo, but look at the colours coming up. Saeed Safrazad, though, right in the mix. This is critical. Remember, you've got to stay with the group and try and come through at the front after starting at the back. And over the top of this climb, it may only be a pimple on the course profile, but I tell you something, it is an absolute mountainous climb when you are on the limit and being stretched by world-class climbers. And that's what you're seeing now. Michael Vink pushes on. He goes over the top into the lead. They're desperately searching for that banner. It's going to come. Here it is. It's in sight now. This is for the final points of the day. Will it be Martins, Vujasin? Will it be Vink? Who's going to take this out? It's going to be Michael Vink who's going to score, I think, the points. But has he got the fastest time through that climb? Well, time for us to find out once those times come in once again. Remember, this is the second ascent of the Liwa Desert Hills, but more importantly, it is going to be the final point scoring opportunity now. Just getting the updates coming in and through. I'm waiting for my screen to update a bit like I think everybody else is here.
I'm turning the handle on mine.
I think, do you know what? He's gone and done it again, I think. Let's have a look. It is confirmed. Saeed Safrazad has got another 5 points. That is a maximum score. He is on 15 points. You've got Michael Kaminsky coming through. Now, Kaminsky is going to have got himself 4 points. That will take him up to 8 in the scores on the doors. Michael Vink is going to come through to take 3 points there. That gets him onto the point score, but it's not going to take him into the top numbers. Van Diemen scoring 2 and Mr. X100 scoring 1. So Mr. X100 has 2 as a total, and Van Diemen is going to score 2. That gives him 3. So at the moment, the scores are: number 1 overall is the man who took the win, Saeed Safrazad. In second place overall is the rider who has come in and scored. He's got 8 points. He's snuck right in and through, and that is going to be Kaminsky, who has come through to take 8 points in second, but only 1 point behind him. It is going to be Knudsen in 7 points. Knudsen, who didn't score on that climb. There you go. Those are the scores, subject to this being a live race and my maths.
Yes, I was going to say subject to verification and the checking of mathematics.
Always dangerous. Now, Michael Vink is again on the attack here, 8.9. Now, we've talked about this a number of times on Sunday Race Club. We talked about it here today. Going from the kick over the top, you've got a dip, a descent, and then we're into the sprint. The sprint comes in at 54.4k. So here we go. Underneath the banner he goes. Look at that, great anticipation even. I can get my words out in the excitement as they come through now. This is the sprint points. This is going to be key. Now, remember, this is about trying to challenge the leader on the road, which was Hoyos. Hoyos is kicking behind. He's got Kaminsky and Vink in front. Hoyos is really pushing towards that line. Has he got the timing right? Has he extended his lead? Kaminsky was right up there, but remember, charging from the back to the front of a group with more draft is key for the sprint. So is that going to be the case, or will it be a rider who's come from the back to the front of the group? And look at the size of that group.
Yeah.
This is going to be a frantic run to the finish. Remember, we have got 15 kilometers to our finish. Now, look at that. Great score there by Hoyos. He has scored himself another 5 points. That means that he's extended his lead at the top of the standings. Kaminsky also scoring another 4 points. That means he is going to be very secure in second place. Sitting in there, he was in second, he's held that. Mr. X100 will score 3 points, so that takes him to a total of 6 points. That's not going to trouble the top three. Zach Nair with 2 and Van Elst in 1. So Zach Nair taking 2 points, that means he's got 3 points in total. And Van Elst, well, he scores a single point. But this is subject to riders coming through fast behind.
Yeah, because on our last sprint, Matt, we mustn't forget that while Ross Fawcett is not in this leading group, he is a number of minutes behind. He did come through and is still contesting the sprint. So in our last sprint, which was the UAQ sprint, Fawcett came through to pick up 2 points in 4th place and knock riders down the list.
He has. Now, that would put him, and this is, of course, he's moved some of the other riders down. He hasn't troubled, I don't think, the top 2 riders. But we're going to have a double check on that because Kaminsky in the penultimate sprint would have been moved down 1 place. That will take his points down to 17. And we still got changes behind. So really interesting to see. Now, Michael Vink was pushing. He's continuing to push on here. He's got that gap. He's opening it up. Will he continue to push? It is a key point to go. 15K, we've seen him time trial his way in. We've talked about that before. Michael Vink on the attack is no surprise. But will the rest of the bunch be able to respond? I'm looking at those numbers. At the moment, that's 7 watts per kilo nearly from Michael Vink there. That is big numbers to be continuing onwards. We've still got a long way to go here. We've still got 11.4K. I think to the finish. That's a long, long way to get in. Meanwhile, you can see the bunch with Mr. X100 are continuing to roll through. Let's take a look. He's approaching 57K here, so that'll be 13. So now you can see a bit clearer the numbers on the screen. I'm going to blame my eyesight rather than my maths for this. So come on, Emma, give us the exact numbers. How far has Michael Vink got to solo if he wants to get to the finish?
Well, I was actually looking at the time gap between Michael Vink and the chase group,
Matt.
Matt.
What a dodge.
And, well, that's what I was actually doing. And it's 14, 15 seconds now. And it's looking like from the numbers on the screen, Vink pushing at 6.4 watts per kilo. Cutler on the front of this group sitting at around 5.5. So this group, whilst they are rolling well, it does not look like anyone is interested in catching Vink and bringing Vink back.
I'm sure they're all interested, but whether they've got any legs left to do that is another matter. So let's see how they go. Come on, Emma, what's the physical distance?
Sorry, from what?
How far for Michael Vink to go?
Michael Vink
to the finish, has to solo a further...
has got 12.6k to go.
There you go. You heard it there from the professor's mouth. Right. Back to the racing. So, category 1, our fastest riders on the road. Mr. X100 at the back of this group, holding the draft. You can see those numbers in green. If you look at the watts there, 150 to about 250 watts. Compare that to Michael Vink solo off the front at the moment. He's putting down a big effort here. Now, any time gaps that he gets today will be a margin on the front. Is he going to take away the very first yellow jersey of our leader on the road on the MyWhoosh Championships as we go from stage 1 to stage 2? To do that, he's got to have a time gap on everybody else. How far dare they leave this? And are we going to see Michael Vink set a time gap now that is not going to be surpassed in the whole 8 days? Can he take that yellow jersey from start to finish?
Well, it's a good question, isn't it? Because he is absolutely nailing it now at the end of stage 1. So in these latter stages of stage 1, Vink is now pushing on. He's now got a gap of around 20 seconds. And as you asked quite rightly, Matt, is this now it? Is this the start of a big time gap between Vink and the rest of the field? I'm I find it quite interesting that Vink has decided to go on stage one. I thought he would, not put the effort in today and stay in the group and just take the time and finish with the group today. I'm quite surprised that he's gone this early on a flat stage. It's not like he isn't one of the stronger riders in this course, on these courses, I'm going to say, because we've got multiple stages coming up and we've got some real climbing stages coming up. I mean, if you look at stage number 5, 1,735 meters of climbing, and I would expect to see Michael Vink being absolutely there during that. So interesting to see him go on stage 1.
It is interesting to see him go on stage 1. I'm just taking a look at this, though. We just saw Cutler start to wind up in pursuit of the leaders and of our leader, singular, and break the group up. But they've brought that back on the right of your screen. So that initial chase by Cutler having been brought back in, and now Michael Vink is accelerating up. Now let's think about these team tactics, Emma. We've got 26 seconds on the clock as it came in. It's now hovering around 21 seconds. Michael Vink is UAE clan team, so that means Mr. X100 SS, Pablo Popovic, and Michael Knudsen shouldn't chase.
Well, that is a point factor, isn't it? Because, Vink is part and parcel of that UAE clan team, and this is a team competition as well. Those riders are benefiting by having Vink out. Though the latter stages of this race today is going to be really interesting because, of course, they will still want good positions. So whilst they'll be happy for their teammate to be down the road and they won't be doing any of the chasing, they are still going to want to be at the front of that pack at the finish.
They will indeed, but how much damage can they do to the pack and not close the gap down? This is the question they're constantly assessing, answering, and responding to, while simultaneously riding their own race, and they have to bear that in mind. I mean, if Michael Vink was my teammate, I have to be brutally honest, I kind of think he's going to look after himself. He's big enough and good-looking enough to take care of the front.
But is it everybody for themselves after him then?
Well, no, because you can still work as a team afterwards. But you don't. I'm not sure that you need to consider Michael Vink too much once he's clear, because he's going to put his head down. You don't get to be a world-class professional on the World Tour teams and not know how to shut out crowd noise, helicopter, camera, motorbikes, dirt, dust, everything that goes with the racing when you're out there. He's in a nice cloistered environment. I mean, I don't know whether he's on a team camp or at home. We haven't got Michael's, we haven't seen Michael's pain cave yet, but he's able to focus and push on. And I think it's really interesting that his tactics are very similar to the tactics of the two riders here. He's just left it a little bit later, because you can see Carsten Meyer here and Hassan Sultan in category 2. They've got 33 seconds on the chasing pack. And again, it could be that these two riders are going to be the riders who set a pace that the rest of the groups have to try and get in touch with. And I think that is going to be really, really difficult.
Well, interesting, isn't it, that Mayer is part of Team Tapas and Sultan is an individual rider, not actually part and parcel of a team in this competition. But those two have definitely been through an offing and helping each other out to establish that gap and keep it.
And with Michael Vink out the front, I'm going to be really interested to see, as he continues to push, how much distance he can keep. Now, just looking at that right-hand side, I'm trying to assess whether that is the gap coming back or whether or not that is going to be a chaser who has broken clear. So right-hand side of your screen, take a look down the road. We are approaching a rider at some speed here. That is going to be really interesting. The pace is on. You can see just how fast they are moving. And this is getting closer together. I think it's 20 seconds it's showing. I think that is Pim van Diemen. It is. Indeed. So there we go. Pim van Diemen just going off the front. Or maybe rubbish sort of mass, but I can spot a rider. There you go. So Pim van Diemen in second place. And that has elicited a response from this group. You've seen it's lined out until they got him back within their grasp. Really interesting to see that has pulled so close back. Now, has this attack and chase closed the gap down to Michael Vink? I think it has slightly brought that gap down. We just wait to be able to see the numbers on our screens. Meanwhile, Hassan Sultan is starting to open up a gap on Carsten Meyer.
Yeah,
now,
he's on that climb, Matt. He's on that Category 4 climb now. The final Category 4 climb of the day as our leaders in that Category 2 race go into that, and that is having a deciding factor on those two lead riders.
It is, because if Hassan Sultan goes over the top, he will have to solo, a bit like Michael Vink, 15k to the finish. But he's going to do it from the wrong side of the sprint as well. And that means that it's going to be nearer 18 kilometers to go. Now, Juan Hoyos, the next rider who is on the front, keeping the pace high. They're starting to react to this, and they're starting to look to try and close this gap down. They're using the downhill section to use the draft in the pack here. Now, these downhills, they're mere undulations. Imagine holding your hand up in front of you as a fist. You can look at your knuckles. That's essentially what the course profile is. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. They're only waves. They're little rollers, and they don't allow the pack, I don't think, enough advantage on Michael Vink to be able to close it down unless they have a concerted chase behind, because Vink is up there. And this will be really interesting, because if this was a tour, so if this was the Tour of Romandy or a week's tour that you saw on the road, you would be seeing the team then of Michael Vink having the onus put upon them to control the racing afterwards. But that's what UAE Clan Team do. That is their speciality. Are they then going to be in that role? Or, because this is an esports, it's the MyWhoosh Championship Tour, are we going to see that happen? Now, just taking a look, looks like Carsten Meyer is caught by the chasing group behind there at 10 seconds. Now, this gap was, let's repeat this, 35 seconds coming into the climb as they've gone over the top. Meyer has been distanced and caught, and it may be that Hassan Sultan's tactics here of dropping Meyer may work to his disadvantage, because Carsten Meyer, who must be strong because he was in the breakaway, is now back with the leading chase group, but Hassan is up at the front. So two solo leaders in Category 2 and in Category 1. Hassan Sultan with a tenuous gap, I would suggest. Michael Vink at the moment looking like he has got this under control. He may well be soloing to take the first yellow jersey of the MyWhoosh Championships.
Well, you say he's got it under control, Matt. It's a 20-second lead back to the group, and that 20 seconds amounts to around 250 metres on the road at the moment. But Vink is travelling quicker than the group. Vink's travelling at around 41 kph at the moment. The group travelling at 37. So, you know, logic tells you that Vink is stretching his lead at the moment, and the group behind, you know, there's a lot of them there, Matt, and they could be utilising this to bring him back if they all worked, but they'd have to work together. And as you said, there are many different teams in there with many different strategies, and that is what is holding that group back.
Yeah, I mean, Beast Mode are in there with people like Phil Graves in that group. We're seeing, you know, his teammate Tim Cutler in there, but they don't seem to have got it together. Martin Martins is in the group from the Belgian Warfield squad, so is Kaminski, but we're not seeing a concerted chase by a volume of riders. Vidal Mayer, who's on the front at the moment, he's Italian Gelato squad, and he's got Zach Nair for company. There are ones, twos, maybe threes from a team, but we're not seeing any one team taking control. Yes, we're seeing the power go down. Yes, we are seeing riders chase, but they're not doing this in a way that makes me think that they're doing anything but chasing for second place at the moment and hoping they can crack Vink in the mountains, maybe, or in the time trial, or maybe he'll have a bad day. And we do see that. We've got to remember, you can go off the front like this as Vink comes up to the 65-kilometre marker with 5k to go. Blow your socks off because you haven't eaten and drunk because you've been so focused on the racing, and lose absolutely minutes.
I'm smiling. He's a professional rider. Well, I highly doubt that's going to happen over the next few days, but you never know.
You never, ever know. Look at the race between Tadej Pogacar and Tom Pidcock. Pidcock said, didn't eat enough. Schoolboy error. Didn't eat enough. Just blew. And it can happen. And when you are in a really intense race, and remember, esports is so intensive. When you're on the road, yeah, you've got the race director in your ear, but you're not looking at all the numbers of the stats, the data for all the other riders. You can see them. You maybe get time checks if you're lucky. But you look at this, you are bombarded with data. You've probably got live feed going on, all sorts going on in the background. But when that happens, you take a look up at Michael Vink. He's got to shut all that out. He's got to switch it all off, and he's got a time trial.
Well,
Vink is at 5.7 watts per kilo, 5.6. This is not 6 watts per kilo. And that must surely give some incentive to the riders behind. But they've got to chase as a team.
Yeah, they have indeed, but look at that. Michael Vink has now got 4.4 kilometres until he sees that checkered flag. Is he going to see it as a lone breakaway rider, or are the group going to catch behind?
Look at Sultan going. He's really pushing on here, but this is our leading group now. I'm just going to take a look. Think of this in the team standings here. So remember, of course, we've got our team competition that will run all the way through. Is somebody going to take an early lead in that team competition? 3 riders to count. So you need 3 riders in this group, realistically, because there's such big gaps behind. Panizza, 2 minutes down the road. So is Zanaska, who has 3 riders in the team competition at the front, because they're taking an early march on anyone else. If it is only the UAE clan team, I tell you something, they've got an early march. They're going to have to lose time in later stages.
What, Matt? Michael Vink is a sole rider, but there are 17 riders in this chase group. That is a massive group of riders at this point on the MyWhoosh Championships at the moment in this Category 1 race. If these 17 riders, I think, well, look at it. We've got, what have we got? 3.7, 3.6 kilometres to go for Vink.
I'm loving the fact you hesitated about the maths. Hallelujah.
I'm looking at it, trying to think, what is it? 500 metres separating these 2 groups now. So Vink is going out. I'm not sure, unless there's an absolutely determined effort now from this chase group to make the catch, that Vink is not going to be a solitary leader. I think he is.
I think he is, and it's what time gap will he take forward. Now, on a one-day race, you just need to cross that line first. The time gaps are relatively immaterial, as long as you don't get caught on the line and embarrassed. Basically, the time gaps are immaterial. Here, every second could count at the end. And we will see, I'll absolutely guarantee, that there will be riders who are separated by a second at the end of the competition, at the end of 7 stages. Vink has to push for every single second here. He's currently at 34 seconds. He's got to lose what is essentially 10 seconds for every 100 metres going into the finish. Tell you now, that ain't going to happen. You can have a coffee and freewheeling.
Well, Vink is time trialling his way to the finish on the MyWhoosh Championships. We are on stage 1 of the men's race. It is an 8-day, 7 stages competition, and Vink is doing his thing on stage 1.
So Michael Vink on the front of the race, the leader on the road, the leader of Category 1. He has 35 seconds back to the big chasing pack. In Category 2, Hassan Sultan is working. He's clear at the front. He dropped the rest of the group. The gap has come down to 9 seconds. It has yo-yoed up and down. The chase is on from Maglio, and they are still holding him at 9 seconds. They are going to be at 14 kilometers to go, and that will be the distance where these 3 riders, Alberto Primero, Carsten Meyer and Henry Uys, have got to try and close down Hassan Sultan. That gap is tenuous, and that is going to be really interesting to watch as the race progresses. So Category 2 underway and into its final stages. Remember, Categories 1, 2, 3 and 4 all out and racing. Make sure that you jump on to the MyWhoosh.com website and look up the results on there for the full results. Now, just keeping a check on the sprint as Michael Vink comes in. We are seeing some real big sprint tactics coming in. The man whose birthday it is today, Ross Fawcett of the Sticky Bun Club, has got the sprint targeted. That is confirmed. He has just taken the fastest time in our final sprint of the day, other than our run to the line. So in the sprints competition, Ross Fawcett has added another 5 points to his total. I think that will put him into potentially tied second place, but that is subject to some serious maths and some working out. So make sure that you come and join us tomorrow, where you'll see who has got the jerseys in the yellow, the green, the white, as well as the polka dot and the Masters jersey. Now, this is the second group on the road, and it's just about a group. We've distanced one rider off the back. We've got one rider off the front of the group, but then we've got a long gap to Michael Vink. Vink currently about 400 meters up the road. He's at 68.95. He'll soon hit the 1K to go, the Flamme Rouge, and know that he has 1,000 meters to go. He's over that point now and into his last 1,000 meters. This is going to be about what time gap can he set. Can he put the marker down that means he can sit and watch everybody else and just bide his time and choose when to strike? Well, I'll tell you something, Michael Vink, he's doing a Tadej Pogacar. He's taken lessons from the UAE World Tour team master, because he's here. MyWhoosh sponsored the team. He's been taking lessons clearly from the man who swept all before him at Will, pretty much in the classics. And it's going to be a classic performance here from Michael Vink. The gap is now over 40 seconds back.
Yeah, so Vink is doing a traditional Vink at the moment. He's pushing on and he's time trialled away from a world-class field of esports riders. So Vink continues to push on. He sweeps around the left-hand bend on this bridge, and he's coming into the last 250 meters of this race today.
So Michael Vink with 250 meters, now 200 meters. This is the final run in. Has he anything left for a sprint to gain those vital few seconds? That group behind are now pushing. We're seeing 11 watts per kilo coming out of Zach Nair in pursuit. The gap's down to 26 seconds, but taking the win for Category 1 on Stage 1. It's Michael Vink. He's going to be wearing the yellow jersey. As we go on to Stage 2, it's Zach Nair currently in 2. He's got a gap to Hoyos in 3, and then the pack are coming. Can he hold on? He holds on in and through the final few meters, I think. He's going to get close down. It's Nair going to come through in 2, just from Bart van den Eyck to Mel Hoyos, Mr. X100, and the riders now. You can see the watts per kilo. There's nothing there. They're in zeros, and I'm not surprised. What a race. 70k of Emma. Confirm those top 10 places.
So Vink comes through in first place, 1 hour 44 and 36 seconds, and taking the sprint. And what a sprint that was. Absolutely eyeballs out is Zach Nair from Italian Gelato, 24 seconds back. Van den Eyck in 3, X100 in 4, Mel in 5, and then Hoyos, Martins, Kaminski, Van Els, Noren and Van Darmen taking through the top 11. Now, you can head over to mywhoosh.com to check out all the results today, the results of this Category 1 race and the sprints, and, of course, the Category 4 climbs that we have had along the way.
Now, we are just taking a look at the riders coming through now. The riders will have to get confirmation on the way through. We're just looking at the unconfirmed times at the moment, and it is going to be very, very tight at the top. So coming in and through for the end of Stage 1, you can see on your screens that the Belgian Waffles have put 4 people inside the top 10 as they come in through the finish. Will they have done enough to hold off the Clan team and the Italian Gelatos? Remember, the results at the moment are live. You can catch up with all of the results from Category 1 when they are confirmed. And remember, of course, more racing from Category 1 riders tomorrow. We still have Category 1 riders out on the road. You can just see up at the top of your screen, actually, Ross Fawcett is just in front of these riders by about 7 minutes. But the lead of the Category 2 race has changed once again, because you can see that we had 4 riders together in Category 2. Those 4 riders included Hassan Sultan, who has been closed down. So 4 riders together. We're going to watch our next riders coming in. This looks like this is going to be David Dunn going to come through. He's got Zanaska Panitsa and gang coming in behind. And remember, of course, that all of our riders will have to finish today's stage to be able to get into tomorrow's. So really looking forward to stage number 2. So as we watch David Dunn come in, Emma, any highlights from the men's race for you? Dominance of Michael Vink?
Well, I think there's a difference between the dominance of Michael Vink and Ross Fawcett, showing us you don't need to be in the lead pack to win the sprint sections.
Well, that is certainly going to be interesting as we move on. So please do make sure you come and join us. Don't forget all of the results on mywhoosh.com/results. You can follow MyWhoosh on social media. That is at MyWhoosh. Emma, where can we find you on social media to get in touch?
Oh, you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram, and please do get in touch.
And you can find me at Matt Fixer Payne. It's been an absolute pleasure putting words to the action. Please, guys, make sure that you get in touch with us. Jump on and give us a follow. And if you're watching live, Ross, we're not giving any tactics away. There you go. Proof that people message us even mid-race. So catch up with the action. It's been an absolute pleasure putting words to the action. A big thanks to all of the team behind the scenes. We will see you tomorrow for stage 2 of the 2023 MyWhoosh Championships from Emma and myself. Stay safe. Bye-bye.